It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here. Richard has the week off. He's fishing in Montana. But hey, good news. PC Magazine's Chris Hoffman joins us. We will have Microsoft earnings later in the day. We'll talk about astounding Google earnings. Will the market punish Microsoft as they have Google? They also, Microsoft, are shifting their own models for AI. And Xbox and gaming. Are you ready for Halo campaign evolved? It's all coming up this week. Next, in fact, on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Episode 994, recorded Wednesday, July 29th, 2026. The best kind of correct. It's time for Windows Weekly. Hello, all you winners and you dozers. This is the show where we talk about the latest from Microsoft, although the latest will come later. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Say hello to Paul Thurrott, back in Mexico, Leo. Old Mexico. Good to see you, Paul. Paul, you've brought a visitor from the East.
Wow, from the Orient.
Richard is in Montana fishing. But we're thrilled to have Chris Hoffman back, senior writer for PC Magazine Software Division. Hi, Chris.
Hi, great to be here again.
I think New Hampshire's the East. I think it qualifies.
It's on the East Coast.
Paul. It's the Eastern Seaboard, as we call it.
I used to know somebody, another friendly Californian, who said, "You don't call cowboy stories Westerns out here. We call them Easterns because they're east of us."
Wow.
And I said, "No, you call them Westerns." Okay. So the news I was referring to is later today, right? Microsoft earnings.
Yeah, so Microsoft will release their earnings later. I assume we'll see the beginnings of it right before we close. Depending on the timing.
As usual, we like to get Paul working, typing away at the very end of the show. But without whiskey, I think we'll have time. We'll see. Unless, Chris, you have a whiskey recommendation.
I do not.
Some, not all,
early for
are
that.
sighing with relief. Week D. You have anything to say for yourself?
I mean, maybe this reflects well on the Windows Insider program. But this stuff has started to become so predictable. I just feel like I'm repeating myself every week or two now with these updates, because we'll see updates hit the Insider program correctly through whatever channel, work their way down, eventually get into the release preview channels really, but whatever. And then go into the week D update like we saw today or yesterday, and then make their way to Patch Tuesday to the next Patch Tuesday, right? The next month. So there's nothing new here in the sense that we've mentioned every single one of these things. I would say in the context of what will be next month's Patch Tuesday. So this will be the 8th Patch Tuesday of the year. This is one of the minor ones. So I think there have been 2 or 3 pretty big ones, and then a bunch of almost non-noticeable ones, and this is that. So, Windows Hello ESS support for external fingerprint readers. Stop me if you haven't heard any of this. The new gesture controls for precision touchpads, and then just like minor improvements across a lot of stuff. Widgets, Windows Search, voice access, Windows Update, power management, etc. So nothing major, but that's good. Especially good for me, because that means I have less to worry about for the book, which we were just talking about. So there's nothing in here I would even mention in my book, so who cares? It's just all small.
That's how important it is.
If it requires me to retake screenshots, Leo, it's a really big update, and it's very upsetting. Yeah,
I understand.
No, so there's nothing here, so that's good.
Well,
I like to see that.
It is kind of surprising. Like you said, last month's or this month's Patch Tuesday update was a larger one. It had the widgets changes and everything. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in the Insider program right now, like the taskbar being movable, that you kind of assume, I guess that'll be in the big fall update. I thought the widgets change would wait till the big fall update, to be honest. So we could have a big update in next month with a bunch of changes, or we could not have a bunch of changes till the fall update. I think that's one of the interesting things right now is you really have no clue whether an update will have a bunch of big features or whether some of these features will come out later the year. Like, who knows? So
to my knowledge, the Windows Insider program team has never said for any of these features that they would be available ... explicitly, I believe. I can recall one instance where there was a tech community blog post where someone not in the Insider program did say this will be in 26H2. But now I can't remember which feature it was. But yeah, there's a new start menu, and then there'll be another new start menu in the future. The taskbar stuff, like you said, Windows Update stuff, Windows search changes, widgets. Some have hit public or stable, some have not. And I don't know.
Some have hit public with a controlled feature rollout that means you'll get them in 4 months without an update.
This is my biggest irritation.
Is that a consistent time frame, or is that
no?
I mean, like, can you count on that?
It's consistently inconsistent, and we were just talking about this before we started recording. But in the Insider program now, if you go into Windows Update, the Settings app, and then Windows Update interface, and enroll your PC in one of the channels, you can go into a feature flag interface and say, I want this on. You can take the CFRs and make them just be enabled. I don't know if they think this is too complex for normal people or whatever, but that should just be in Windows Update. Like every month when there's a patch Tuesday update, if someone sees a feature or finds out there's a new feature and they really want it, rather than it randomly appearing on the computer sometime in the next weeks or months or whatever, they could just, click a box and have it just be there. That's what happens in the Insider program. So I don't know why they don't do that. But then again, this Insider capability is probably less than 3 months old. So it's still kind of a new thing, maybe to something they'll eventually do. I don't know. Yeah. I still have that issue where I go to different computers and it's like, oh, this one has the wrong start menu, or or this one doesn't have the new taskbar stuff or whatever. Like it's still very confusing.
This doesn't happen in enterprise, though, right? I mean, because that would be a problem if your employees sitting next
in enterprise,
to
they just they just block everything in the enterprise, or everything they can.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's really mostly home users.
I wonder, though. I mean, So I feel I'm gonna repeat myself a bunch because Chris is here, and maybe he doesn't hear this week to week, but one of the weirdnesses of my life is that I used to be able to write a book or an article or anything and say to do this. It was very explicit. If you want to get this done, this is how you do it. And now it's like, all right, open this thing up. You might see this. You might see this. You might see this. You never know. You don't know what you're going to see. It could be anything. If you don't see this, do that. Like it's like a flow chart now. So it's very complicated. And then there's this stuff just in Windows that's not even related to the Insider program, like phone link. If you have an iPhone, you get a couple of basic features. If you have an Android phone, you get a bunch more. And if you have a Samsung flagship, you get several more really good features. And describing that in a way that makes sense in plain English is also difficult. So this is my my daily cross to bear. I don't know. And Chris's too, I guess, and I would assume.
And now half the new features with the phone stuff are under some mobile devices thing in the setting, which is not the same as phone link at all. Don't get confused.
Listen. So since you just said that, I will.
Wait, what? No, what?
Yeah, no, I will further. So sorry.
What?
Let me compare this to something. If you use an iPhone, you are familiar with the fact that you have an app, but the settings are not in the app. The settings are in the settings interface under apps, and you have to go find it. It's stupid. Like there's two different places.
It's so horrible. Right? I don't know why
I hate it
they
so
do
much.
It
it's just the Apple way of doing things. It's stupid.
Yeah, it was a
what
bad
he's
idea.
describing is similar to this. So we have a phone link app. It has settings, but to fully configure the phone and or phones you're using with the app and just with the system, you actually have to go into settings. Now, if there was one interface for this, that would be pretty good, but there isn't, because actually there's multiple. And I'll just tell you about one more of them. Is if you go into apps resume, this only has to do with phones. It's not in the mobile devices interface. It's somewhere else. I don't know why. You can control whether this feature is on or off, assuming you have a phone that's compatible with it. And then assuming you've installed any apps that are compatible with this feature, you can turn those on or off individually. And why is that not in the mobile devices settings interface? I do not know. But this is, again, this is whack-a-mole. That's what
different team worked on it, maybe.
Probably, yeah. I have no idea.
I do have to point out, this is the operating system that had two different control panels, one visible to
Still
most people,
does.
Still does.
and then one hidden away for the real experts.
So this is way out of date, but back in the 90s, at least maybe the early 2000s, like Jerry Purnell would say stuff like this. He's like, the Mac maybe can't do something. And if you can't find it, it's just not there. That's just the way it is. But if you do find it, that's the one way to do it. And in Windows, It was always, the approach was, which is so out of date now, but we have this really diverse audience at the time. At the time, it was the biggest audience. And it was like, we have to have all these different ways to do things because different people do things differently. And that is just, I get it, but it's the...
It's actually a religious controversy.
Bizarre.
Perl, the language, was famous for Tim Toady. There's more than one way to do it. And in Perl, there's 20 ways to do anything.
This is it's a whole design philosophy, right?
It's a design philosophy. In the very
think about the Unix design. You have a command or an app in Unix. It does one thing. That's it. And if you want to do a series of something complex, you're going to chain those things, and they're going to work in concert. In Windows, they're like, no, we're going to build a battleship, and it's going to do everything. And it's just a different approach. I think they were trying to make it user friendly. I think that was I don't think it was malicious. I just think it was a design decision.
It's philosophy. Although I have a feeling that Apple more from the beginning had like this kind of focus on they called it monotony. There's one way to do everything. That was the term.
That's a okay. I'm not sure.
We
like
want it
that
to
word,
be monotonous.
Okay.
Probably in the more truer Latinate sense of the word.
Yeah.
There's
they were first with the human interface guideline stuff.
They had that big book,
they were thinking about this very early on, right? Microsoft kind of came up later and copied it.
I feel like Windows was kind of developed like most programs in the real world. You build a little here, you build a little there, you build a little here, you add a little there.
Yeah. Do we need a solid foundation? No, just keep going up. You'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the GUI stuff is just, Windows came later, whatever. Look, I'm not saying the Mac has a stupid menu bar at the top all the time. I don't like that either, but whatever.
There's should be attached to the window. Of course. Everybody knows that.
And they didn't do that because they didn't want controls to run off the edge. And how would you ever find that? And they were thinking through the how people would react to it. But that was also like 45 years ago.
Times change.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the debates on the Apple world was, and actually in all of the GUI world, it was resolved by the time Windows 1.0 came out, was do you do we've talked about this before. Do you do tiled windows or overlapping?
Yeah, exactly.
And of course they decided overlapping. Windows is overlapping. But now on my Linux box, I use a tiled.
A lot of people
desktop.
like tiled. For all the problems with Windows 8, one of the coolest things about it was you could just have two apps side by side, and then eventually you could use Snap or whatever.
Snap. That was the idea of Snap, kind of, right?
Yeah.
I like that, but I have a giant
because people
screen.
lose track of where things are. There was a window and it's gone, but it's behind something.
Exactly. I think it's also because the screens are bigger, so you have more real estate on a desktop, so you can.
No, I know, but now that most people are on a laptop, you actually sort of, I run apps full screen all the time.
That's how I do it on the laptop. So I move from workspace to workspace. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I don't know.
Times change.
Different ways.
Styles change.
Yep.
Different strokes.
Different strokes. Exactly.
Well, we've exhausted that topic.
Yep. And then some.
Welcome to the show, Chris.
I'll hold my thoughts on tiling window managers. But it would be nice if
monotony earlier.
Do you use tiled windows, Chris? Just out of curiosity.
I don't have ideally Windows had a better like tiling window manager. I do a lot of full screen stuff. I do a lot of split screen stuff. Even on my larger larger desktop monitor, I might have maybe 4 apps in a grid, but most apps, floating is kind of it's weird to juggle 20 floating windows.
I'm looking across the way at my desktop, which has a 55-inch screen, so I really do want to have many windows, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and occasionally a 7th window opening up, but they're all tiled.
Right.
So I know where, and it's set up so that when it opens, that's where everything goes. So I know where everything is, and then I have more workspaces if I need more.
You can get into a really complex thing like that in Windows, but you have to use a PowerToy.
Yeah, this is Linux, obviously. It's
but there's a tool where you can define a layout, and it is what you're describing.
I like that.
And then you can bring that back as a thing.
It's kind of complex. It's kind of
people have tried that on the Mac too. I have a couple of tools that will do that, and none of them really are very satisfying.
Oh, I don't use it. It's too complex, but it's
too complex.
It's there if you want it. I don't see it making its way into Windows. I guess I'll put it that way.
Burke says Tylers are inhuman. We're animals, Burke.
I think what you're looking for is subhuman. No. No, I mean, I look, we're all kind of power users, but the reality is, especially on a laptop, you kind of want that thing filling the screen. You don't have a lot of space.
Yeah, it started for me with a tablet, with the iPad. I
feel like we went to one extreme and then we're kind of walking it back. Like Windows 1 and 2 were all just tiled, or maybe Windows 1.
I love workspaces. I love workspaces. And I have a command key and I go to 1, 2, 3, 4. I know what's on each. It's always the same. Mm-hmm. Just a natural way to work.
Yep. I do that on the Mac. I do not do that on Windows for some reason. I can't explain it. But
Windows has that capability. You could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not as good. So Windows has had virtual desktops forever. Well, since NT. It only became a feature in Windows, I don't remember, 2, 3 versions ago, whatever it was. 2 versions, maybe. Was it Windows 10 or 8? I don't remember. But eventually it became a feature. Windows also supports full screen apps, but you almost never see that. You see it with like Microsoft Edge is one of the apps that does this, but any app can do it. But on the Mac, they've made it into a formal part of the UI. Like all apps basically can go full screen and it becomes a workspace. But I wish Windows did that universe. I wish that was just a global. Well, it is, but app developers actually have to use it, and most don't. So I kind of wish they had that, because then you could just the best you can do now is maximize and hide the taskbar,
right? Depending on the app.
But oh well. I don't know. The Mac has really good touchpad gestures, by which I mean they're the same in Windows, but on the Mac they actually work.
Oh yeah, on the trackpad you just what is it, a 3-finger swipe and it just goes to the next workspace, and 4 fingers.
I literally disable 3-finger swipes in Windows on, I'm going to call it 95% of laptops I review, because the trackpads are so bad. I inadvertently do when I try to scroll, I do the thing where it brings up, I guess, task view, where you see all the apps that are running. And it's, I am clumsy. I admit it. I'm sure it's my fault partially, but some trackpads work awesome, and that is not an issue. So I can tell a month into this, if I haven't switched that, that off, then this is a great trackpad, or an accurate trackpad or whatever.
Right.
They're all so much better than they used to be, though. Like every laptop I reviewed for PC World was so much worlds ahead of like 10 years ago.
Well, because you used to travel with a mouse all the time. You had to, right? If you had to do anything precise on your screen, you had to have a mouse. That's not the case anymore. I will say that I've never reached for a mouse on a modern laptop of any kind. I'm just talking about the gesture part. Yeah, trackpads have definitely gotten a lot better. But I mean, I'm not saying they're perfect on the Mac, but I think it is one of the things they nail. If that means anything to anybody, I don't know. But next week on where I'm switching to the Mac.com, I don't know. They do get that right. Okay. Anyway, sorry. A weird diversion.
I have to say, my X1 Carbon, love the trackpad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And those guys are holding on to that nubbin thing because ThinkPad fans expect it. But that's another example.
I never use it.
I haven't touched the nubbin on one of those things in years.
Yeah.
Like their trackpads are fantastic. They also tend to be on the smaller side, which I like.
Yeah, that's the trend now, isn't it? These ginormous trackpads.
Well, they have this, it's like a dinner plate, and it's like, what?
I don't get it.
Why is the trackpad 3 times the size of the keyboard?
Yeah, I don't, like, do you buy a laptop based on the trackpad size?
I mean, I would, if it was smaller, I would. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't like it.
Yes, smaller, better.
Like, I have a hard enough time reaching the left end of the trackpad as it is to get a normal click. I'm sorry. It's a long thing. I have a lot of problems. Okay. So, since we spoke last time,
yes,
2 sets of updates to the Insider program. Last week, they had done 5 different updates to 5 different channels. Nothing super major. One of the ones they left out was experimental future platforms. Since then, they updated that channel, and it's just stuff that's everywhere else. So it's continuing that Canary theme where it's supposed to be the latest, greatest. It could be breaking. It might not make it into the OS, and all it is the stuff we put in Windows last month finally making its way. So I don't. There's nothing here of interest at all. It's sad. I don't know why it continues to be like that.
Very strange.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. One thing we talk about a lot is, Microsoft determines they're going to clean it. We're going to fix Windows, right? We're going to address the pain points. Nice. They're not addressing any of the actual major problems with Windows that are what I would call the certification. So that's an issue. But okay, nice set of updates across the board. We mentioned all of them or most of them earlier, but great. And so they start doing it. And one of the things they were fixing is the insider program, right? So they have too many programs. And like I think we just talked about this last week, this idea, like, how this happened. Like you can tell without knowing the people, I know this is exactly what happened. They're like, all right, we're going to fix this. We're going to have 2 channels. Perfect. And then someone's like, but hold on a second. What about this thing? All right. We'll add a sub channel. And then right now, I believe there are 7 or 8 channels, and it's exactly what it was before. This is not simpler than it was before. It's just as complex. And the reason is these people didn't understand the reasons that led to the stupid stuff that was happening before, and they just walked it all back. Like they started this thing off like, no, we're going to fix this. We're going to do the right thing. People are going to love us. It's like, nice. And then it's like, well, what about this? All right, we got to do. Oh, what about this? Oh, yeah, I guess we got to do it. And now we have. They still talk about it like there are 2 or 3 channels or whatever it is, but just in the
technically, there are sub channels. That's different.
Is it? I mean, like, well,
that's the message.
No, okay, but there's still. Look, we can give names to things. I mean, there's still channels. I mean, they're entities to which you can or cannot.
I'm sorry, sir.
Enroll.
You're in subchannel 1A stroke B3. So you're
right. So I think what he's saying, in other words, that's technically correct, which I think we can all agree is the best kind of correct. But there are so many. It's just as bad as it was before. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know when they started this, but sometime this year, I believe, but certainly in the past few months, they started actually documenting on a monthly basis the updates they're making to the inbox apps, the apps that are included with Windows 11, which I think is really cool. In the June update, there were several inbox apps that were updated with, interesting features to some degree. They just the other day published the list of the changes they had made this month to those apps, and there's nothing interesting really per se, but calculator, clock, media player, and notepad all got what I'll call minor fixes. No actual new features, but just fit and finish type stuff. And those things, I believe, went out to all of the major channels, or however you want to say that, experimental 26H1, experimental feature platforms, beta, and release preview. What's missing from that? Well, and release preview is actually multiple channels too, but whatever. Which suggests we're probably going to see those updates in the near future, or I don't think they just do it on Patch Tuesday, but maybe they do. It doesn't really matter. So it doesn't matter anyway because they're not major feature. There's no major feature, so whatever. But that's good. It's still good they're doing it. And then we get to the hilarious nature, the ironic, hypocritical nature of a company putting crapware into a product that's so bad that Microsoft, which I'm not saying invented crapware, but they might have perfected it, actually complained to them and said, maybe you need to stop doing this.
Steve Gibson says this was the most emailed topic of the week for him.
Yeah.
So I haven't written a story about this, and I didn't find a link to this. But by the way, HP, which does this kind of thing a lot as well, has pop-up Bing ads on some of their laptops. And so somebody asked Microsoft, you going to ask them about that too? And they were like, no, we're not. So that one's okay.
But here's
this
the
one's
needle
pretty bad. So you're talking, well, you should explain. This is the LG monitors, computer monitors that install crap on your PC.
Yes.
The monitor doesn't install it. Technically.
Sorry?
Windows installs it.
Yeah, they're using Windows Update.
Well,
and they're telling Windows Update, we have a device driver that we would like you to install, but it's more than a device driver, right? Is that right?
It's something like that. There's some, it may not technically be Windows Update, but when you plug in a device, Windows looks at the hardware ID and the device metadata, goes online to Microsoft, and then it sees information from the manufacturer, and it says, download this driver, download this software. So I see this happen across a variety of devices like Razer, mice, and keyboards. You plug it in, it launches an app. How did it do that? Because like the manufacturer says, when you connect this thing, download and launch this supporting
program. Is that plug and play? Is that what we used to call plug and play?
So the plug and play bit is you get a class driver that's just generic and should work. So if it's the mouse, you can move the mouse cursor around, whatever. And then like what he's saying is, depending on the hardware, it can then actually install whatever it is, the utility, a better driver, et cetera, et cetera. So those things used to always come from the manufacturer, but now they can opt in and actually have that funnel through Windows Update.
See, this
Which
has
is
always
kind of where
bugged
you
me. I
want
get a
that stuff.
Logitech mouse and it wants me to install 400 megabytes of crap that you don't need
Yeah.
because the mouse works without it. Everybody does this, and you know why they do it. They're putting telemetry on your machine.
They're adding value, Leo. I don't know what you just said, but
So LG monitors, but what were they installing? It was supposedly an LG monitor control utility, but what was it really? Was it ads?
Well, it was well, if you look at the statement, it was just an LG monitor control utility. They were not installing McAfee antivirus. However, the LG monitor control utility had a pop-up for McAfee antivirus, which is
It had an ad in it.
And it had an ad, but as LG said in a statement, that's totally above board, and they're using a normal Microsoft process. Now, once big names started noticing, then there were tweets, and then Microsoft got involved and asked LG to stop. But this is fascinating for so many reasons. First of all, it doesn't appear to be that LG broke any rules. Like Microsoft didn't say LG broke a rule in terms of how it should handle this type of thing. We're really threading the needle too here because you mentioned the HP Bing ad thing. Like, okay, but computers come with a lot of bloatware on them, and manufacturers can put as much ads as they want in there. That's fine. And Microsoft can update Windows and put a bunch of Bing and Edge ads in, and that's fine. But in this case, what really is just apparently too much is if you plug in a device and then it downloads an app, and that app has an ad, that's bad because that app is like automatically installed by Windows. We're really threading a really careful needle here. And the other funny thing is this is a monitor. Like a lot of smart TVs and smart displays and even monitors have built-in firmware that has software. So if LG had released a firmware update for its monitors that had a McAfee antivirus on the display firmware level, they could have got away with that too. But the one thing that they cannot do, apparently, without getting in trouble, is releasing this through the Windows auto install system, which is very weird. But it's good that people push back. But the whole ecosystem is kind of a mess.
Yep. So by the way, the behavior of malware. One thing, very reminiscent of that Sony rootkit thing from probably 20 years ago. I'll just say, just anecdotally, right? Microsoft does this all the time, which is what the irony part is, or hypocrisy, whatever. Just before we started this show, I had to reassemble this setup in this new location, whatever. And I was trying to think, like on this laptop, I used this last week, and I like to use a different web browser for the video stream that we're doing, and then my own web browser for the articles that I look at. But I couldn't remember what I used last week. So I launched Edge, which launching this full screen experience. It's like, hey, would you like to change your settings back to Bing and blah, 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 and all this stuff? And it's like, no, I explicitly changed that. What are you bugging me about? But it does that all the time. So this is like, Microsoft.
Would you like fries with that, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. Except what they're asking me is, would you like alone in your car when you're going through the drive-through for a hamburger? It's like, what? It doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Right.
And
it's not even related.
This is Microsoft, pot calling the kettle black. I mean, Microsoft is...
There's we were talking about this on Sunday. Devendra Hardawar said, yeah, when I worked for CBS and they had downloads.com, they used to... Right? They started doing this when CBS bought it. They said, oh, look, we can make some money. We're going to install crap. And Devendra said, what are you doing? They ruin the user experience.
I mean, developers
wait a minute. Maybe it was... I can't remember. It might have been Jason Snell. Anyway, it was somebody. But this is a long-standing tradition in computing.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this is... Yeah, I mean...
It's not good. And I think LG got the idea from its TVs because...
Right.
My standing advice to people is do not connect your smart TV to the internet because you will be sorry. It's going to send pictures of you every 30 seconds of what you're watching.
My Samsung, it bugs me all the time. Like, you should sign in. Let's get this thing going.
You need to know who you. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm just trying to watch TV here.
So it's the LG TVs guys said, hey, this would be good. We could do this on the monitors too.
Well, the funny thing is they would have basically gotten away with it. If it was just adware that comes, a program that comes pre-installed on computers, or was an optional install, if it was just bloatware, they would have got away with it. If I'm working at LG, I'm working on this team, it's like, well, of course we can add an app to our an ad to our app. What's the issue?
HP
like the only
does
issue
it.
was that it was automatically installed, but I was also thinking about the Sony rootkit thing. It's actually crazy. Like it was crazy that you could plug in an audio plugin, insert an audio CD, and you would get a rootkit
and get a rootkit on your computer.
Without it asking, Windows just said, whatever you want, CD, absolutely. And it's crazy that if you plug in a monitor, Windows will just download whatever the manifacturer wants. It could pop up and say, hey, LG recommends this application.
I feel like part of the contract there is that however, if it is going through Windows Update, let's say, like, I appreciate that Microsoft wants to centralize the stuff, but there's a promise there about the quality of those updates and that it's not going to be used as a vector for malware. That's one of the reasons you would go through Windows Update, right? So they'd either LG was very sneaky about this, or Microsoft literally is just not paying attention. It could be both. I don't know.
Incidentally, let me point out, you're still talking about the Sony rootkit 21 years later. Huge
it's the canonical example of this, right?
And that was the same thing.
That was
Microsoft
Representovich, by the way, is the one I found.
This damages your reputation. This is a very stupid thing to do. No, people aren't going to forget that LG did this. Right? Or no?
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right.
I mean, you wrote a whole book on how to de-and-shitify Windows. Now,
I know.
Without LG and people like that and HP doing these things, you wouldn't have a book.
De-and-shitifying Windows is like the TSA. You're always fighting the last battle, because these losers always find some other new way to do something wrong, Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's a big problem.
I'm glad Microsoft put its foot down, but you make an excellent point, Chris. It's a little hypocritical since how's this different from what
it's not a little hypocritical.
There was a PR crisis, but again, like Microsoft did not say LG violated a rule. Is this allowed? Could LG have said no? We're doing it. Like
delivering an ad though through Windows Update. That's what happened. If that's not somehow a rule, it is today. I'm sure they changed the rules. That's crazy.
The actual LG display app, whatever it's called, is updated through the Windows Store. So they updated their Windows Store app with an ad. That, in theory, is above board, right? By the way,
another place Microsoft supposedly has oversight.
Well,
I will, in your defense, Chris, I will say you are not advocating this. You're just pointing out there is a certain amount of hypocrisy here.
Right. I mean, it's like at what level is they didn't just upload an ad to Windows Update. They're just, there's this kind of cascading failure. So, for example, not to drag Razer through the mud, but I found an interesting story when I was researching this. A few years ago, Razer had basically a security vulnerability in their installer. You would plug in a Razer mouse, the installer would open up, and then you could get to an administrator command prompt from that installer. So it had a privilege escalation vulnerability, and they patched it. But that's the kind of thing that this creates. What kind of hardware devices are out there that you plug into a Windows computer and now you have administrator access? Have we audited all these, every mouse and keyboard and display and peripheral in the ecosystem? If you say this is too much, I don't like it. From what I looked at, you have to have a group policy setting to turn this off. So unless you can find some registry setting somewhere, you have to upgrade to Windows Professional and enable a group policy setting to say, just don't let manufacturers install stuff on my computer when I plug in devices. And that's crazy. And this is why people complain about Windows, right? If I'm using Linux, if I'm using a Mac, I can plug in a display and the manufacturer does not get a say that we're downloading an app right now. That's just how it is.
There is no plug and play at all on those devices.
Right. It just doesn't work. No.
Right. It's on you if you want a driver, to go out and get it. Yeah. All right. I need to pause because we're going to take a break. But it's great to have you. Chris Hoffman's here, PC Magazine senior writer for software. I guess Windows is software. That counts.
It is. I cover a lot of operating systems.
Softest of wares.
It is very
Did
important
you know
software.
Today is the 11th birthday of Windows 10? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I forgot that, but I forget Patch Tuesday every month too. So yeah,
I have it in my calendar so that I will go on Facebook and say happy birthday, Windows. So I think you should do the same.
It was that was a weird July release, but then
I just was kind of shocked when I saw that Windows 10 is 11 years old. That kind of feels
11. Yeah.
That surprises me that it's that old.
And still going.
How do you think I feel? We're all old. What are you going to do?
I am 10 years old now. No, 11. I just don't have any fingers.
11,
I don't have enough fingers. We're going to pause. You're watching Windows Weekly, Paul Thurrott, Chris Hoffman. I take it Mary Jo Foley said no.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I had to ask.
You know who does like you?
That
Steve
like
Gibson.
Me? Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's
Steve,
good,
because next week we're going to be doing the show from Black Hat in Las Vegas. The kind folks at ThreatLocker, one of our sponsors, has invited us to sit in their booth. There won't be a PA system. There won't be places to sit. So,
sorry, are we going to be like booth babes? Is that what you just said?
We're the booth babes. Congratulations.
Nice.
Windows Weekly will be first thing in the morning as soon as the doors open, and we will stream it live, but you'll also be able to download it as usual. And then we're going to take a break, and then it'll be Steve Gibson. But Steve wanted me to tell you and Richard that he'd love it if you stick around, and we could do a kind of a roundtable security now.
Oh, boy. Wow.
If you want.
You just asked me to work double. No, that's fine.
Without extra pay, I might add.
Yeah, no, I that was understood. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Richard would be.
If you were a booth babe, you wouldn't do it.
I'll just walk around with the number, but like the ad break or
one of those boxing round one. Anyway, it'd be kind of fun. I think you know what I think Steve's for some reason worried about content, like. But we're going to be at Black Hat. There will be plenty to talk about.
I was going to say, the content will be between the time I got off the plane and the time I sat down here. How many ways was I hacked?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So Lisa's been very nervous about going to Black Hat, the big hacker con. Yeah. Have you been to Black Hat, Chris? Do you?
I have not. People from
Neither have I.
My Windows phone, so I know I can't be hacked.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Lisa's saying, well, what should we do? What should we do? And Russell, our wonderful IT expert, who's brilliant, said, just turn off your Bluetooth. If you're really nervous, turn off your Wi-Fi too, and just use cell, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave everything on. I'm going to take a chance. And we'll see.
You're not using like a graphene phone yet? I mean,
I do have graphene. I have a Pixel 10 with graphene on it, but I mean, you know what?
That wouldn't be a bad.
I'm Mr. YOLO. I love taking chances. So hack me.
You like that Far Side cartoon with the deer that had the birthmark that looks like a target? And it's like bummer of a birthmark, Hal. You're just like, I'm just going to do this.
Not a good birthmark on a deer. Oh, Gary Larson. Gosh darn it, I miss him. All right, let's take a break. Anyway, come out and see us. If you're going to be at Black Hat, we'll be at the ThreatLocker booth. I'll be there all day. And maybe we can entice Paul and Richard to stay all day too. Maybe if I get a good bottle of whiskey.
Ooh.
Oh, whiskey. We could. I don't know if we have whiskey on the show.
I'm sure Rich would be happy to do this.
It'd be fun. We don't get everybody together that often. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought. This portion of Windows Weekly brought to you by Delete Me. Actually, I do want to talk about Delete Me because they are a lifesaver for a small business, for any business. I shouldn't probably have to tell you how awful it is out there in the real world with these data brokers collecting every bit of information about you. It's even worse for businesses. We learned that because part of owning a business is putting yourself out there. That's part of the job. The bad news is when you promote your business, it leaves you and your team completely exposed. You got that website with everybody's name. Right now, 90% of business owners have, get this, their home address, probably because of licenses and stuff, their home address is easily discoverable online and the average owner has more than 600 pieces of personal information sitting on the open web. Stuff you really think, well, it shouldn't be there, but it is. Personal email, phone number, home address, details about your family. And we learned this is a real problem. Hackers use this data to run hyper-targeted phishing attacks. And because they have the real details, they don't sound like strangers. They sound like clients or partners you already trust. And we've been bit by this several times. We started using Delete Me when a text came from our CEO to her direct reports from her phone number to their phone number saying, hey, this is Lisa. I'm in a meeting. Can you go out and buy some gift cards and send them to this address? We would really like to thank this person for their contribution. Fortunately, our team is smart. They didn't fall for it, but it opened my eyes. It made me realize the bad guys know all about us. Since we've been targeted with emails from partners asking a request for proposal, Click the link to the so-called Google Docs address. It's a man-in-the-middle attack. You enter your Google information, you're hacked. That's why attacks using personalized information are 5 times more likely to succeed, because they look real. And let me tell you, the average incident costs small businesses more than $120,000. We were very lucky, but we immediately signed up for Delete Me. 1 in 4 businesses will be impacted this year alone. So Delete Me reduces your exposure by up to 95%. Very simple. They remove you and your employees' personal information from hundreds, I think there are more than 500 now, data broker websites, which starves hackers of the fuel they use to build their target lists. And it's not a one-time thing. It can't be, because these guys are like cockroaches. They go out of business. They come back with a new name and a brand new list of information. Delete Me is always looking, constantly monitoring and removing your data. You will get regular privacy reports. We just got one the other day, so you always know where things stand, what they found, what they deleted. Fortune 500 companies and government agencies have been using Delete Me and trusting Delete Me for over 15 years. And now that same enterprise level protection is available for your small business too. Protect your business, protect your peace of mind. Do what we did. Go to joindeleteme.com/twit-biz to start protecting your business with Delete Me today. If you use that link, by the way, you'll also get a free year of social media protection for every seat you purchase. Again, that's joindeleteme.com/twit-biz. And by the way, please don't just Google Delete Me and go there. You'll go to the wrong Delete Me. You'll go to the one in Europe, and it's not the same thing. You want to go to this website. You don't need to Google it. joindeleteme.com/twit-biz. Or go to twit.tv/sponsors and click the link there. joindeleteme.com/twit-biz. They are great. We use them. We recommend them, and you should use them too. We thank him so much for supporting the lovely Paul and Chris and Windows Weekly. Now on with the show.
Well, so I was going to say this is really Chris, but Microsoft is starting to, the industry is starting to release 8 gigabyte Windows laptops again, like it's the 1990s or something.
Because of the RAM crisis, right?
Yeah, it's. But anyway, Chris came up with what I think is a really interesting way to test that. I'm curious to hear about this.
So, I'm at PC Mag now, and I did a lot of laptop reviews for PC World over the last few years, and most of them were at least 16 gigs. I had one 8 gigabyte laptop I reviewed for PC World like a year ago, whenever it was, and I couldn't believe it at the time. I was like, just spend another $30 or something and get more RAM, because it's not good. But obviously RAM has become a lot more expensive now. So
it's more than $30 now, Chris.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like the year-to-year Surface laptop prices or increases are nuts. But Microsoft themselves are now releasing an 8 gigabyte RAM Surface laptop, and it's out there, and The Verge reviewed it and said it's not enough for Windows. And I was looking around a lot of this, and there's a lot of discourse. Some people say it's actually fine, some people say it's unusable, and like there's two sides kind of talking past each other. And I was really curious, like, well, how good is it? So first of all, I don't have an 8 gigabyte Windows laptop. I have a desktop. It has 16 gig sticks in it, so I can't really make it 8 gigabytes. But you can test this yourself, actually. In Windows, if you go to MS-config, there's an old troubleshooting option that lets you limit your computer to whatever RAM you select. So if you plug in 8 gigs... Like,
my computer's working too well. Could we screw this up somehow? Yes.
Well, it's a troubleshooting... you could, a developer could use it to... Well, actually, developers will probably have to start using it to test how their applications perform in these 8 gig machines that are everywhere. But... you can test that, and you can set that and reboot. And I did. And, it actually works. Windows works with 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you just want the desktop and File Explorer, you're good. In fact, you can even open a web browser and have 1 or maybe 2 tabs, but I don't know about the second one. Maybe 2 might be okay.
1 tab.
Well, actually, yes. Like it's that tight. Now, the interesting thing is kind of in the middle, right? And this is, I think, why maybe both sides don't understand each other on this issue, is that if you start opening tabs and programs, you have 6 browser tabs open, it actually is usable. Like, it doesn't appear to be swapping horrendously. It is slightly slower though. Like it's slightly slower because there's just not enough RAM. So it's doing swapping and it's really efficient at the swapping. And then, once you open a lot of programs, it's slow. Like you alt tab to Slack and it takes 1 second to come back. And this is on a desktop with a fast CPU. But in the interesting spot is in the middle where if I was not a geek and I had a Windows 10 computer that was 8 years old and I bought a new 8 gigabyte Windows 8, Windows 11 laptop, I might just think that's how slow modern computers are. I'm like, well, Chrome is just kind of slow. Windows is kind of slow. That's just how it is. It's usable. And, if I was working in an office and they were paying me by the hour and they said, here's your 8 gig machine, it's like, fine, I'll move slow because, you're paying for my time. But the reality is, if you have that 8 gig machine and you want to use a few programs or you want to use a few browser tabs, it is just slowed down by the 8 gigs. Like even in a best case scenario, unless you're using 1 or 2 web pages at a time, it is slower. Like Windows actually does not pop up and tell you, hey, you're swapping. You can look at the task manager. Back in the day, I'm gonna date myself. Back in the day, you would be using an ancient hard drive and you would hear it swapping, like grinding away. You see the light, you'd hear the hard drive. You knew that the swapping was happening. Now it's like, it's just a little slow. Like it's not obvious what's happening if you're not a geek. And it's just, 8 gigs just isn't enough. I'm sorry. You can use 1 web page at a time. It's fine. But
no, 8 gigs is not enough. Full stop. And look, maybe some of the work they're doing this year to make Windows better will help a little bit. But there's a real future-proofing problem here. There's also, by the way, I don't know how old that computer you used to do that on is, but when you think about new laptops coming out the gate with 8 gigs of RAM, they're running new low-end processors, right? So one of the things I will review later this summer is, I don't remember the model, but it's a Lenovo laptop running like the Intel Wildcat chipset, which is what we used to call Celeron and or Pentium. I don't remember. I don't know I think they just call it Intel. It might even just be Intel Core something. I don't remember, but it's really low end. The thing is, that laptop, though, is going to come with 16 gigs of RAM. So I'm also not going to get that exact experience. But, look, every time 8 gigs of RAM comes up now, it's like, oh, the MacBook Neo runs fine. Okay. But the Mac OS may be slightly more efficient than Windows, but I don't think it's like twice as efficient. Maybe it's 30% or 25%, whatever it is. But you're going to want, if you're actually using a computer, maybe not Linux, but who would use Linux with 8 gigs of RAM? I mean, if you're actually using a computer, and this is what you do all day long, you need 16 gigs of RAM or more. But there is this newish notion here. This is what the Chromebook was trying to address. It's what the MacBook Neo addresses, I think. And it's what these stupid 8 gig laptops are going to address, which is your primary device is not the computer. It's probably a phone, and which is the case for so many, probably billions of people, really, but whatever number of people. And every once in a while, you need the bigger screen, And I mean, someday that will just be a screen and you'll probably just plug your phone into it. And I know you can do that today, but maybe it becomes more sophisticated. But, you get this thing because it's relatively inexpensive. It has a bigger screen, it has a full-size keyboard, you can type. And you do that one thing, whatever it is, which, as Chris was saying, is you can do one thing. You can do one thing, no problem. But if you're doing a lot of research and you're browsing the web and you get multiple apps, 8 gigs of RAM is not going to cut it. I'm sorry. It's just no way. I feel like I don't even have to review one of these things to know that, but whatever. I mean,
Apple, when it put out the Neo, which is an Apple bestseller, is 8 gigs. But years ago, didn't they say, 8 gigs is fine with our M1 processor? You don't need... Yeah,
they did. But they also switched to 16 gig as a minimum. I don't remember the time frame, but they did it before Microsoft did. And then and Microsoft has not still, I should say. Microsoft has a 16 gig minimum on Copilot plus PC. So when I look at those two things, I say, well, this is the modern minimum, the realistic minimum, not the minimum stated on the spec sheet where it's like you couldn't. Windows 11 supposedly supports 4 gigabytes of RAM. How bad's the component crisis going to get? I almost jokingly, when we were talking about this before the show started, I almost jokingly asked if you were able to use Windows Ready Drive. Do you remember this thing? Where you could plug in like a USB key into the computer and it would act as cache. So it would help with that thrashing effect.
Oh my God. How slow would that be?
That'd be terrible. Well, I bet it's not even it's Windows. You never know. There's a lot of vestigial stuff going on in Windows, but Well, no, you would see. I think it's going to be gone. But that
I
was
forgot about that.
That was at the time Vista was very resource heavy, relatively speaking. So this was a way to get around that. If you had an existing laptop that you upgraded from XP and would have immediately noticed it did not run as well, you could have used, everyone. Well, not everyone. Most people would have like whatever they were at the time, a USB-A stick of some kind, and you could use it there as cache. I don't know. I guess the need drives this. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to think.
Are these cheaper though, Chris? Right? They got to be cheaper.
Well, cheaper than what?
I mean, cheaper than what? Right? Like, it's not cheaper than the 16 gig machine was last year, but it is definitely cheaper than the 16 gig machine is this year. But I think it's
every company's going to face this, right? This is a big crisis.
Yep. So here's the thing. First of all, if you are going to run 8 gigs of RAM, I suspect, I've not tried this, it's just off the top of my head, but a Snapdragon X2 would be better,
right.
Or a Snapdragon, or Qualcomm eventually is going to come out, remember, with the Snapdragon C, I think they're calling it. We'll see if that's garbage or not. We don't know. The Wildcat stuff is the Intel equivalent. You have to look around. Sometimes it's a sale thing, but this is not a recent thing that, a $500, if you could get it at the time, Windows laptop was always going to be garbage. And that what you really wanted to get is close to, in the $800 to $1,000 range. You can still buy actually decent new computers, not many, but there are a couple between $800 and $1,000. But really that's shifted upward mostly to the, I'm going to call it $1,200 to $1,500 range probably. You need 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, if you're going to really use the thing, because you're not just using it today, you're using it for the next several years, whatever the time frame is. You think it's bad now. I mean, wait till you actually use it for a long time. It's only going to get worse. So, and this one thing, Chris, again, because I'll keep just repeating myself, we talk about it in the show all the time, is on the other side of this spectrum, one of the things that's really nice that's happening in hardware, PC hardware these days, is laptops are becoming a lot more repairable and user serviceable, right? But the one piece that is not never, but almost never included in that is the RAM. The RAM is almost always soldered on, or part of that SoC, whatever that is, data card or whatever. Every once in a while, I'll see a laptop where you can actually swap out. They have like CODIMMs or SOD, whatever they're called now, which is awesome, because then you could say, look, I'm going to buy one with less RAM than I really want, but maybe down the road there'll be a sale or the prices will finally stabilize and you can upgrade it. But 90-something percent, high 90%, you can't. And that's tough because there's nothing you do. Just buy a new computer. Yeah. Which I think we can all agree is ecologically sound. It's fine.
Well, we've already seen PC sales dropping, right? I think we're going to now see.
Oh, yes. Smartphone sales are dropping. All of the hardware stuff is dropping.
Yeah. People are price sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. Long term, we probably, unless RAM gets a lot cheaper, we probably are going to see kind of more device consolidation. Why wouldn't you just want, if RAM is this expensive, why do I want a phone with this much RAM and a laptop with this much RAM and a game console with this much RAM? That's a lot of RAM when we could probably just power a display from a sufficiently powerful phone. We could today, honestly. It can be done. The software exists. It's a little janky, but there's going to, it's probably a better solution long term than 8 gigabytes of RAM in Windows or 4 gigabytes.
Yeah, in other words, this may serve to accelerate a trend that might have already been happening. Whatever that trend might be toward like a phone that could act as a hybrid device where you could plug it into a screen and a keyboard and stuff and just.
Well, if only there was such a thing as a Windows phone, they would be well positioned.
Well, it's built into Android now.
Yep.
I don't know that. The way Apple moves, yeah.
This week, Apple announced a lease to own plan because they realized this fall we're going to be charging a lot of money for some hardware, and
but
people might need a loan.
I have a problem with that. I appreciate that they have to do something like this, but it's like Klarna, which I hate, and it's rent to own, and actually it's not even rent to own. I don't know why did I just say that. It's really not. It's a lease, like a car lease. You don't own it at the end. You can pay for it, but the thing is that the type of people that need to use this lease thing, tend to be less affluent. They're the type of people that are not going to have the hundreds of dollars at the end to pay. If they could have afforded a couple $100 up front, they would have like I guess we're all betting that, we're all going to be better off in the future or something. But the more likely outcome for these folks, which is really unfortunate, is that they just keep going with the lease, like since they don't own this device, they're like, well, I'll just keep the payment going. I'll get a new phone, in 2 years or 3, whatever the time frame is, depending on the device. And I'm sorry, but like that really stinks for those people. Like I hate that that's the only option they have.
Yeah, it's the modern version of a contract, though.
Mm-hmm.
They're back.
I know, but I don't. It's just this feels like victimizing the poor to me. It's not great. I mean, some people will use it properly, so to speak, or maybe you can handle whatever it is. But you can pay it off early if you want to, whatever, with no fees. But
your analogy to a car lease is apt, because really what your payments are the depreciation. And then
yes, the difference between a car lease and this Apple thing is that the payment you make at the end is incommensurate with the remaining value of the vehicle. You actually, like, you're not paying off the remainder that you owe, so to speak. You're paying more. Like they kind of get you there a little bit, depending on the car. This one, it is the amount. So if it's an $1,000 device and over 2 years you pay $600 or $800, whatever, you owe the difference. Like, you don't owe more than that. Like, they're not going to get you at the end that way. But if you want to send it back and it's not in perfect condition, what's going to happen then? Right? I mean, I've had Apple reject trade-in devices because they have little dings on them, which
and here's the interesting thing. I don't know, but when we talked about it on Mac Break Weekly yesterday, Christina said, incidentally, it won't be Apple inspecting this.
That's
be
what
Klarna.
I mean. It's the third party, and that's the tricky bit. And yes.
Do you trust Klarna to give you every penny that iPhone is worth?
No, I don't. And the previous system that Apple had, the iPhone upgrade program, had Apple Care as part of it. And,
you don't get Apple Care.
And that makes sense. Yeah. There's no Apple Care here. So if you want to protect the device with some kind of a protection service or whatever, you have to pay for that yourself. If you don't do that, and they want, again, the types of people, unfortunately, who are going to get into this thing are not going to pay. They're like, oh no, let me pay $99 every year for Apple Care. Are going to use the device like normal people, and then 2 years or 3 or whatever the time frame is on the device, and then you hand back this crumpled mass of metal that looks nothing like the thing you bought, and it's like, yeah, this is worth 17 cents. And you may owe them money, even if you're like, no, I'm just going to send it back. They're like, great, you owe us $200 now, and not to buy it, just to pay off the damage you did to this thing. We're going to see what this looks like. This is very, I think I'm not sure how I wrote it exactly, but it's like un-Apple-y, Apple is really about, well, whatever anyone thinks of the company. I mean, they do have like standards for quality and so forth. And This is a third party. And I don't know. I don't like the sound of this.
I think this is to be they're forced to by the current crisis in RAM and hard drives.
The only thing I can defend them on is they're not, unlike, say, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, a couple other companies, they're not directly responsible for these hardware price increases, right? They don't have they don't contribute that way. If you want to say it that way, they don't have tens to hundreds of billions of dollars in CapEx spending on AI infrastructure like these other companies do. So they're not a prime contributor anyway to that stuff. So, that's like damning with faint praise, I guess. But they're not that part of that problem, I guess. I love Apple is what I'm trying to say, Leo, and so much. And I know really
that.
wish.
I know that, Paul. You try to hide it, but it's so clear.
Just as a tip in terms of trade-ins, though, like Apple, if you're trading an Apple device, if you go to the Apple store and do it in person, like that works great. If you mail it, you get the same bad trade-in experience as basically any manufacturer. So it would be nice if they had the kind of in-store trade-in, but if anyone's ever got to trade an Apple device, try to do it in an Apple store. Don't mail it.
I had an iPad Air with Apple Care, and I traded it in for an iPad Pro after about a year. And it had a couple of scratches on the corners, which is the type of thing Apple could fix very easily. And they sent it back. They just didn't accept it. It was like $450 of trade-in value that I did not get. And it's like, guys, what the, like, that's nonsense.
Do it in person is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Although the other thing to consider, which makes this such a complicated calculation, is sometimes the trade-in from your carrier is even better than anybody.
How do you know
right?
though? It's so hard.
Well, you won't know till you do it.
Right.
So it's a very hard calculation to make up front whether you should do this lease thing or not. It's tempting if you I don't know about you guys, but I get a new iPhone every year.
Yeah.
So in that case, it might make sense. It is an interest-free loan in effect.
Well, the only problem is that
if your phone is pristine when you turn it back in.
So what you're doing is a 2-year term, and then I guess you can upgrade in a year, right? And is there no penalty?
The payment just continues on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, in this age of us paying for everything every month forever for the rest of our lives, that sounds like an awesome thing to add to that list.
You'll never own a phone again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't really. People talk about you don't own that whatever digital content you bought.
You don't
and it's
anymore.
That's not. I don't
even own my house. You don't own anything.
And by the way, everything I own is temporary anyway. I'm going to die. Who cares? What I do care about is all the stuff you're paying for every month, right? That was, and that's an effort I made. I used to do this all the time, but a couple of months ago, I stripped down a bunch of the services I pay for because all of us, I think, have some number of things we don't use or barely use, and you pay for it every month. And if you just looked at that one bill, you're like, well, it's only 10 to whatever, $30 a month, whatever it is. You're like, yeah, but I have 18 of them.
I should look at my bill every month. I looked at a bill and I said, what is Shadow? Why is Shadow $20?
Yep.
And I realized I've been paid. Do you remember Shadow PC where you could have a
yeah.
Remember, 4 years ago, we talked about it, or 3 years, and I signed up for it. I've been paying $20 a month for 3 years, never used it once.
So
forgot about it.
So, year and a half ago, we went up to visit my son, who's deaf but has cochlear implants, etc. He was talking about he heard the Apple Music had this thing that would be good for him, and I was like, dude, you could switch right now. We get it as part of Apple One. He's like, well, I have all these playlists. Yeah, so I was like, all right. I said, I'll pay for this thing called Song Shift for a month. And
that's a good thing,
transfer all year.
Love it. Yeah.
Works good. I've been paying for it ever since. I've never used it once since that day. He transferred all his playlists in the car. We were driving somewhere. He did it in 15 minutes. It worked great. And now I still pay for it.
Still paying for it.
Yeah, I'm a genius. Definitely listen to me when it comes to any advice.
Look at your bill every month, kids.
Yep. Some of it's hard because, like when I asked my wife handles our money, and I asked her to do this whenever that was 2-3 months ago. And she's like, we have 17 entries every month that just say Apple.
Yeah, that's the problem. Right.
Because some of those, you can go look, I guess. And, sometimes they'll bundle things together to make it better for them for, paying credit card fees, whatever. But I don't know. You really got to be
when I saw Shadow, I thought, this must be this is something evil, and I had to search for it because that's all it said on the bill was Shadow. And finally, I saw, I remember that. I subscribed, and I said, I must have an account. I logged in, and it said, yeah, you've got a virtual PC. You've had it for 3 years.
It's just sitting there doing nothing. We love you. You are our favorite customer. Yeah, exactly.
Feel terrible.
That's the business model, right? They're.
Oh, sure.
Well. What was the exception to this? I got an email. I can't remember the service, but some service emailed me recently to say, hey, just let you know, your thing is running out pretty soon. If you don't do anything, we're going to rebill you. And I was like, man, that should be the law for everything. Like that, everything should do this.
But not everybody does it, do they?
No, they rely on you just not noticing.
We do that with Club Twit, by the way. We let you know, right? Don't we, Patrick?
Yeah, that was when we switched our system at Throughout.com. We moved to something where we'll do the same because, people get this bill suddenly and they're like, what is this?
Yeah. Sigh.
Okay. Well, this week I'm complaining about subscription services. All right. We have one more hardware story.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's Chris.
Okay.
It went to me and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm just clicking buttons at random, Chris. Just ignore me.
So the Copilot key, everyone's favorite new hardware feature. There's a really fascinating story this week that Microsoft is testing a do nothing option that just does nothing when you press the Copilot key. It's really fascinating. I mean, like, we're years out now, and there's a fascinating article that Microsoft published on the accessibility website that says, some people have been having issues because this replaced the right control key which people need, which it can on some machines replace the right control key or the menu key, which people needed sometimes for accessibility reasons. So we're going to eventually add later this year an option to let you make it the control key again. It's like, well, that's good, but I mean, that happened years ago. I mean,
yeah. The history behind this is kind of interesting because obviously 2 years ago, Copilot plus PCs come out. They have this key. You're like, great, that's what we need. I'm a sloppy enough typist that I'll hit that key by mistake all day long. They're relying on this, right?
Yeah.
But then I think it was the later that year or maybe the following January, somewhere in that time frame, this is going to go out on lots of PCs. At the time, the way it was phrased, it seemed like it was going to be some PCs. It's like every PC, as far as I can tell. It's just a Copilot plus PC key is there.
Yeah, but prior to the Copilot Plus PCs, I was still seeing that key. That key predates Copilot Plus PCs. That was on some of the original Intel things with the dinky NPUs that never got.
It was the menu
Copilot
key,
Plus
right?
PC features.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it the menu key?
I reviewed many machines like that. So
here's an interesting.
Well, no, I mean there have been other keys, but I mean as far as but it being the Copilot.
With that logo,
it's like 18. 2 years ago for Copilot plus PC, whatever it was.
But I think they remapped the menu key. I think it was the menu key.
No, it's not. So if you actually, and the only reason I know that is before they gave you a way to do anything with it, you could use. There's a PowerToy called Key Remapper, which we're going to talk about later. But one of the things you can do there is have it. I would have it. I would just look at the keyboard and be like, all right, what's the key to the right of that key? So it's on this key. Well, this keyboard doesn't have a thing. It's usually a left arrow key, not always. I just map it to that. That way, when I'm sloppy typing, I can, it just does left arrow, right?
Smart.
Now, it doing nothing would be better, but okay, fine. Now, at some point, hold on one second. I'm sorry. I just want to say, Microsoft partially addressed this, right? So at some point, there's if you go into the settings app, it's probably in accessibility or something, but there's a keyboard. Let me see if I can find this thing. I should probably just look up keyboard, I guess. But there's a keyboard page in settings, and there is a little drop down for the Copilot key, and you can set it to do a couple of different things. Like it can run search instead. It can run Copilot, obviously. I can't remember what the third one is, but do nothing is not one of those options. And when I saw that, I was like, do nothing needs to be one of those options, right? So I would just set it to be like you can unassign it, like it doesn't do anything.
Make it caps lock or something.
No, you can just don't assign it to anything.
Right. And
if you hit that key, the settings app will run and go to that page, highlight that interface, and say you need to pick something. So now imagine me sloppy typing. I'm writing an article, and the settings app keeps popping up in my face as I'm typing. And it's like, guys, this is not a solution to this problem. So what the story Chris is alluding to is like, if they actually put that in there, which is honestly in keeping with a lot of the stuff they're doing this year with the pain point stuff. Then there you go. So it will take them 2.5 years to solve a problem that they caused, that was so bad it resulted in basically every PC hardware maker on earth changing their keyboards. God damn it! Like seriously, think about that.
It's really fascinating. No other key in Windows that they have. There's no option to do nothing when you press the Windows key. I mean, they haven't.
You cannot turn off the Windows key. No. This is not a thing. It's not like a hidden thing. It's a nothing. You can't do it. I mean, think about how amazing would it be if you were a fan of some other launcher, like Microsoft makes one PowerToys, like PowerToys Run or Command, whatever it's called, the new one. I want that to launch when I hit the Windows key. No, you do not get to do that. That would be amazing.
It is a weird key because I was trying to remap it. I wanted to make it my voice dictation key.
Yeah.
And it does not behave like a normal key.
No, so that's
on Linux you can see what it's doing. It's weird. It's doing sending weird stuff.
So in that part, the keyboard remapper, I'm just off the top of my head, but I believe it's function key 23, which does not exist for the most part. Right. Yeah. I mean, most people probably have 12, probably function 1 through 12 or something. Yeah, it's terrible. So
It's-
that's what. That's why you can't.
Most keys, there's a key down, key press down, and a key press up event. They're two events,
Right.
down and up.
Yep.
This key sends all these different events. It's weird. It's just a weird. They've done something, and I think that's intentional. I think they want to
They
keep you
really
from remapping
want
it.
you to use Copilot. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've heard this.
I think this is shockingly. I think this is intentional.
Oh, 100, it literally is intentional. Yeah, that's true.
Because I had this X1, this Lenovo with a Copilot key, which I don't. Linux is on it, so I don't need it. And I wanted to map it to something useful. I gave up. I finally used the insert key instead.
Oh, so I if you want, I'll look it up at some point. But I believe it's function key 23. So if that helps you remap it to something that
yeah, but it doesn't. It would if it was just a simple key down and key up. But it's got weird. It's sending weird.
Oh, I see. I
stuff.
see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a normal. It's
Yes,
not
I
a
think we can
normal
all
key.
agree
It's not like your
normal.
other keys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, what does it say?
Strange.
Now I'm looking at it. It's bugging me. Yeah, it's F23.
There is no F. Is there an F22?
No, there isn't.
There's no F. Yeah.
They pick
right.
something that purposely does not exist.
Right.
I know. It's crazy. All right.
What a world.
Anyway. Yeah.
Moving on.
This has been a fun 2 years. A couple of app things because wasn't sure where else to put this stuff. But
I think it's hysterical that they are testing a do nothing function.
We'll see.
They're not offering it. They're just going to
in the
test it.
slow-moving world that is Microsoft backtracking on their worst mistakes. They will get there eventually. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring us back to that. It's just
it's an open world. It's
irksome.
fine. Yeah.
Moving right along. You want to talk about OneDrive photos?
Yeah, I apparently Windows PCs now have a OneDrive Photos app. It's news to me. I saw this news story earlier, and then I opened my Start menu, and I now have a OneDrive Photos app, which is separate from the existing Photos app. Now, the existing
Right.
Photos app also allows you to see OneDrive Photos, as does the OneDrive Photos app, and OneDrive Photos also appear in File Explorer. Why there are now two Photos apps, I don't fully understand. People are saying that Windows installed this. I think probably under the hood, this is like part of the OneDrive installer package, like OneDrive updates separately from
By the
Windows.
way, I saw this app possibly a year or more ago.
Really?
On a computer. Yeah. And now it seems like it's everywhere. Like it's suddenly very common.
Yeah, I opened it. It says it's a beta. I don't understand why I would use it versus the normal Photos app. It's very strange. This is the kind of thing I think people complain about with Windows. Apple doesn't have. Here's the Apple Photos app, iCloud Photos app, and here's the Photos app, and the Photos app has iCloud Photos.
So I'm not going to defend this. This is garbage. Also, I'll say this is the third way you could look at your gallery in Windows 11 because there's also a gallery view in the File Explorer, which is exactly the same as the main view in the Photos app. So now we have this third one. If I had to guess, and it still doesn't make sense, it might be for people who use OneDrive as like people to back up their photos, but the OneDrive they have on their computers maybe for work or something, and they're not mixing them or something. But you can have two OneDrives. I don't know why you would. I don't know. This doesn't make any sense.
There's no statement here. We released this new app. Here's why, and here's what we're excited about. It's just here it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. It's completely redundant. I don't believe there's a single feature in here that doesn't already exist in the Photos app. I don't quite get it. But I guess I'm just guessing. It really bothers me that this exists. But but I do. It's very clearly for that audience or whatever who uses OneDrive solely for photos. Because it's not just a photo app. It's a OneDrive. I know it's obvious, but a OneDrive. So it has your those moments they create on this date or whatever. You can go look at that stuff, which you can do in the Photos app. But it's just I don't know. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah. Speaking of malware, you might find on your computer that some company installed without telling you. There's an example. There's the hypocrisy we were talking about before, right? So yes. So Kevin's. Someone else said this too. Something about the Samsung is no longer, I guess, syncing from whatever Samsung Gallery to OneDrive or something like that. But I can't imagine this is just for Samsung. Like, I don't think that fully explains it. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it's very strange. I don't know. I'm really confused by this.
Well, I would hate for anybody to get confused by the fact that you're listening to Windows Weekly.
Right. If we can't explain it, good luck.
On the fine Twit network. Let's pause. And then earnings. Earnings, my friends. Earnings. There's some money in this. Microsoft earnings are coming up. It is earnings week. What time at the market close, right?
I was just trying to find that. So I feel like it's 5 p.m. ET usually.
Oh, 5 p.m. would be 2 p.m. our time.
But that doesn't feel right either because we're usually done
Usually
by 5.
it's around 4:30, I think,
something like that.
ET. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on it. And as usual, what usually happens, has happened in the past, is we get the first numbers and we give you
Well,
a
what
quick
usually
report,
happens is we're in the middle of talking about something and I have like that 1,000-year stare because the announcement has occurred and I'm looking at it like, I can't do two things at once, but we'll see.
Anyway, but Google had its earnings already, and we'll talk about that in just a bit, and so did Intel, and you couldn't have two companies with two more divergent earnings. But that is still to come on Windows Weekly. Chris Hoffman's with us from PC Mag. Paul Thurrott, we're glad you're here too. Our show today brought to you by Cirrus Inc. This is a solution that a lot of companies need. If you have iPhones in your company and you use M365, you know exactly the pain point here. You got your phone. You need a coworker's number. So what do? You dig through Teams, email, maybe your HR system just to find it. It should be on your device, shouldn't it? And then somebody updates their number. Now it's wrong. Everywhere else it lives. This is GAL. This is a GAL, right? The global address list. It looks great on the desktop. But if you're using iOS, this is a solution for you. There's always that one businesses solve this by having that shared contacts folder, on a drive that somebody maintains by hand. No, you need CirrusSync. CirrusSync, CirrasYnc, fixes this permanently. No manual process. It pushes your company's contacts, calendars, your whole GAL to every user's Outlook and phone. Automatically, tenant-wide. The contacts just show up in the address book and they stay current all by them lonesome. You need this. Go to cirrussync.com/windows. You book a free demo. The CirrusSync team, they're really nice. They'll walk you through how convenient and hassle-free it is. And if you say, we need this, they can help you get set up right there on the call. So you can roll it out across your whole organization. That's cirrussync.com/windows. Sync your whole company's contacts and calendars automatically. It's lovely. CirrusYnc.com/windows. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. Let's talk alphabet.
An airstrike.
Why?
I don't know. For any reason. I don't know. Sorry. Sorry, this was a Discord thing. So a couple of light kind of earnings things ahead of the Microsoft one. Google/Alphabet. I had to rewrite this thing I wrote twice. And then there's actually a third item that is maybe the most important of all that is not in my article, which is Google announces their earnings, or Alphabet announces earnings. Gangbusters, right? 28 billion of net income, on revenues, 120 billion roughly. These are gains of like 98 and 24% year over year. So, they're going gangbusters, right? And you look at their individual businesses, you're like, everything is up. Google Services, which includes the ad stuff, is 5% gain year over year. 68% of revenues came from advertising. Google subscriptions, platforms, devices, gain of 5.2% year over year. Google Cloud revenues going awesome. 14.5% gain, $25 billion, we'll call it. Looks good, right? The first change I made was that I looked this up because in the previous quarter, Google said that this year they were going to raised their spending on CapEx AI infrastructure to $190 billion, which was double the amount they had spent the previous year. So I kind of added a note about that, and I was like, I'm curious if this has changed. But then in the conference call, they said it was going to be as high as $205 billion, so they actually went up. And the spending in just that quarter was almost $45 billion, which I want to say is roughly double what it was a year ago, too. So I had to fix that because they adjusted that prediction for the year. But also, most of their profits, you got to look at that, actually more than what is their profits, but most of their gain came from investments they made in other companies that are all speculative AI kind of, gains. So Anthropic, SpaceX, a couple of other companies. They also said that they had 950 million monthly active users for Gemini, which is great and very close to OpenAI, except what they didn't say was how many of those people are spending money on that. Like people using it for free in search everywhere. A lot of those could just be free users. So I was like, all right. But here's the thing. They had a negative cash flow for the first time in the history of the company in that quarter because they're spending so much money on AI. And I'm sorry, but we're reaching some kind of a ludicrous point. So Google's stock price has actually fallen since this announcement. It fell really heavily in the wake of it, even though these numbers are all humongous, as these AI numbers always are, I guess. But I think Wall Street is finally starting to come around to this notion that, maybe these guys don't have their hands on the wheel. I mean, maybe they're not as smart as they sound or as they talk or whatever. I don't really see a major payoff for any of their investments, well, ever, frankly, but certainly not in the short term. And I don't know. I think we're finally losing patience with this. But the only other company we have that's of note that also announced earnings is literally the exact opposite of this in many ways, right? So Intel, which in any objective sense is a failing business. Okay, they lost money in the quarter. They lost money. They did not turn a profit. In fact, the amount they lost was about double what they lost in the same quarter a year ago. Revenues are up. Client computing, which is PCs, which is now combined with another group, but whatever, is up 13%. That's crazy. I mean, that's compared to how the PC industry is going. That's much better than the industry, right? But also they merged with another group, and I bet a lot of that comes from that other stuff. But their data and stuff is doing pretty well, and we see that a lot in Dell, Lenovo, these companies that are traditionally associated with the PC space are starting to do a lot in the data center space, and of course that's where all the growth is. So this is the type of thing that will kind of help. The one that really kills me though is Intel Foundry, right? Which is reported separately from Intel, even though they throw it into the earnings announcement. The revenues in this business were up 31% year over year, and you're like, oh, that's great. They only have one customer. It's Intel. That money all came from Intel. It's not coming from other companies. They still don't have a major customer for their foundry. They have a couple of tiny customers, but they're paying themselves and then reporting it as a gain, And this is what AI companies do. It's semi-farcical, but this notion that there are 7 companies trading $100 billion between them in some circular fashion. But the money never originated anywhere. None of them ever actually paid the money. They're just trading notes back and forth. And that's kind of like what Intel's doing with the foundry. This is crazy to me. But because the U.S. government is invested in this company, we have this we have to make this thing look like it's doing great. And Wall Street falls for it. Intel stock jumped 11% after they announced these results. So like I said, if you look at this objectively, this company's not doing great. If you look at Google objectively or Alphabet or whatever, I mean, I guess we could kind of debate that one, but the numbers are humongous, and they got killed from a stock price perspective. Intel, Intel's winning by losing somehow. This is bizarre to me. So Intel did not sell 13% more computer chips this past quarter than they just didn't. So that I don't know where that came from, and their foundry business is a joke. So, okay, USA, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I find this to be very depressing. Moving on. So, back at Build in May, Microsoft announced a bunch of new Microsoft AI models, and I guess we'll call these frontier models, most of them or whatever. So they're scaling up and getting more sophisticated and so forth. I don't know that they released any of them at that date, and I'm not really sure what the status is of all those things. But just to, I don't know, in the past week they announced 2 variants of the models they talked about at Build, both of which are being used in Microsoft products and services, and in some cases exclusively, which means, and this was the headline a lot of people used, was Microsoft is starting to shift away from open AI models, which is actually notable, right? So Bing Image Creator, which I think we can all agree is probably not the most popular online service in the world, but actually it's very good for whatever that's worth, is now 100% in-house. So they're only using Microsoft AI models. And then the other stuff is just, well, mostly small. So there's an image model that's the default model for some OneDrive image editing scenarios. There's a voice model that's used in Azure Voice Live, which I don't know what that is, and Dynamics 365 Contact Center. Okay. There's a model that's used for one thing in PowerPoint I think it's when you have an image and you want to transform it into a different style or whatever, it will use the Microsoft model. And this is good for a variety of reasons. I mean, this is a baby step. If Microsoft is using 100% OpenAI, now they're using maybe 97%, whatever, however you want to do the math. It's still a step forward, right? But the bigger issue is that because they control these things and they're making these things, they're specifically designing them to be energy efficient. So like the GPU usage on at least one of those scenarios is somewhere in the 84% more efficient compared to the GPT model they were using before. So that's good overall. It's small, but it's good, I think. I don't know. Did you ever talk, when you were at Build, Chris, did you talk to the Microsoft AI guys at all?
I talk with some Microsoft people about AI a little bit. I can't, but they're very, even with the local AI stuff they were pushing in Windows, they really are all about efficiency, which is obviously the big thing now. People are blowing through token budgets and yada, yada, yada. And they had, obviously it makes sense. They want to save their own money in the cloud with running these models. They also we're talking a lot about, hey, developers, get this Windows PC, run these models locally, So, it's interesting. It's good. It's hard to get super excited about compared to, if the headline is we're doing the same thing or maybe a little bit worse, but it's way more efficient. That's good. But it's not the most exciting story to read about.
No, and I also wonder what the impact on, like from Wall Street will be to this news, right? Which we might learn later today to some degree. Like, is this interesting to Wall Street? Is this newsworthy in the sense that it's like you're doing the right thing? I mean, we were just talking about cutting subscription services like when you're one of the top 2 or 3 tech companies in the world with big AI and so forth, like their version of that is what they're doing, which is like, we really got to cut back on the cost here. And, that doesn't involve cutting AI. It involves like just making it work more efficiently, which ideally would happen on the device, but we're not quite there yet. And then, if we're going to run models in the cloud, they did what they could do so far, go to actual usage-based pricing, which all of a sudden everyone's like, yikes, like what am I paying for here? Or just literally make that stuff more efficient and cost efficient as well, right? So, I mean, they're doing what they can do, I guess, but this is another one of those things, like they created this problem. Like they knew what they knew this was like this. They knew how expensive this was all along. I don't know. Maybe this was a big thing between them and OpenAI. They wanted to reduce or increase the efficiency, I guess. And I don't know. They just weren't super I don't know. I'm not sure, but I feel like they'll get there. I don't know. When was CrowdStrike? 2 years ago, probably. 3 years ago, could have been 3 years ago, 3 years ago, CrowdStrike happened, right? Yeah. So after CrowdStrike happened, all of a sudden, Microsoft renewed security push, blah, blah, blah. Security, I think it was the Secure Future Initiative had already started actually, but they kind of renewed focus on that. That we have the Windows Resiliency Initiative and, whatever things they've done since then. There's been a bunch, honestly. So this Hugging Face thing happened last week. And, we're doing that TSA thing again. It's like, all right, I guess we need to address this as an industry. So going to call them the cabal of, NVIDIA, Microsoft. It's basically every big AI company except for Google, right? Well, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. No, that's not true at all. OpenAI is not in there. Anthropic's not in there. It's fascinating to me that OpenAI, for all the competition, there's been a lot of standardization on things. And I think only makes sense because all these companies are trying to race forward so quickly that not doing completely different things in different ways does make sense, even though they're competing. I feel like this should be viewed the same way, although some of the biggest companies are not in there. But what they want to do, obviously, is make sure that AI doesn't turn into Skynet or whatever. But right now it's just talk. I don't know what comes out of this. 2-3 years ago, whatever the CrowdStrike thing was, Microsoft had a powwow with all the big security companies. I want to say September, October, whatever it was that year, and the net result was they just disagreed. The Mac app, whatever the CrowdStrike, whatever the companies that want to get into the kernel because for the best protections, Microsoft wants them out, and they're like, well, you get out and then we'll get out with you. And it's like, well, we can't do that. We're Microsoft. They get into like kind of a weird thing. So I don't know what came out of this, but or what will come out of this, maybe I should say, but they're at least talking about trying to figure out a standardized way to secure AI so it doesn't destroy our bank accounts and whatever else. But I don't trust these companies to do anything.
Good luck.
I know. The cat's out of the bag.
The big one they're really afraid of, but they don't want to talk about because they know it's going to scare everybody, is that somebody will use AI to develop a pathogen, a biological.
Yeah, of course.
That AI can't fix. These hacks AI can fix.
Yep.
But if you create a new disastrous pathogen that's highly contagious using AI and release it to the world, AI ain't gonna fix it. It's gonna be out there, and according to some, that's what people are, but not anxious to talk about. And when you put it that way, I guess I'd be scared of that too.
Right?
Can it do that?
Well, we're also, there's going to be every military on the earth is going to be using AI. Probably already is using AI to whatever degree.
Guarantee you they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's bad enough. Human error is bad enough, but then I don't know. You miss a comma somewhere in a markdown file, and all of a sudden missiles are launching at Africa or whatever. Something bad's going to happen. So I don't know.
The real problem, and we're going to talk about it on Intelligent Machines extensively today, as we will every week. But I think the real problem is there's no good solution.
Right.
Some say, we should just slow down. Oh yeah, like.
Just slow down.
China's going to slow down, or Oh, okay.
That's the problem.
We should create safety guardrails. Oh yeah, those have worked well. Okay, so
yeah.
Let's just. I know. Congress says let's put a kill switch on the AI. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the
kill switch is like the original debate in the tech industry. What was it? The CIA allegedly had a kill switch or a backdoor into Windows or whatever, which
right. How did that
does
work?
not exist actually, but whatever. That was a big belief for a long time.
It's moving really fast. Mm-hmm. Government does not move fast. Industry has its own agendas. You don't think OpenAI and Anthropic really want to pause?
I think it was you, Leo, last week who said, from OpenAI's perspective, the hugging face.
This is good news.
Was good news. This was it just like the Fable thing for Anthropic, even though it was vaguer, was good news, right?
Sure.
That you have just demonstrated how awesome your AI is, right? And yes, maybe your customers are going to be bad actors or whatever, but the one thing these companies need is billions and billions of dollars, and
what I would
people willing to pay.
What I've been thinking, and what I would suggest people start working on is getting your AI to think about defense in depth. Like, how are you going to protect yourself from rogue AIs?
I'm going to protect myself by driving a car that has a catalytic converter, a carburetor, live in the woods, Live
in the woods is the only real
next to a running stream of some kind for power. Yeah.
Get off the
I
grid.
don't know what you do there.
IM is coming up. Intelligent machines. We'll be talking about that and many other fascinating topics. Our guest
You'll
is
never
Henry
run out of stuff to
Blodgett.
talk about. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. He founded.
I feel like you have, but have you talked to Daniel Suarez recently?
I've been.
This
You know,
stuff
it's
is
funny that
straight
you
out
should
of
say
his-
that. Yes.
It's
So I
straight out of his
emailed
books.
him. I said, "Kill decision." You and now with this Hugging Face thing,
Now
demon.
you are now the H.G. Wells of our generation. You predicted this thing. You didn't
Exactly.
predict, like say this is a prediction. You wrote a story about it, but then it happened.
He
crazy.
he does impeccable research. I
Right.
have to think he had an inside track. Anyway, yes, I reached out to him. I said, "Please come on." He said, "I'm on vacation." But he's, we love
In a cabin
Daniel.
in the
He's been
woods
on
with a
many
car with a
times.
carburetor. Yeah.
So I will get him on
Yep.
Intelligent Machines as soon as I can get him to say yes.
I also would like to
Yes.
know what he's writing now because I'd like.
Yes,
He's always like,
please.
just tell me what to
What's
expect.
next?
Yep.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Should be interesting.
Yep.
Do you want to take a break now? I can't tell where we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
take a break. I don't care about Anthropic.
You know that we're going to be talking about it at 2 p.m. All of this
Yeah.
AI stuff,
Oh, yeah.
nonstop,
Yep.
nonstop. Yeah, we're going to talk about Opus 5. Our show today brought to you by a very handy tool, part of your defense in depth, actually. The Thinkst Canary. The Thinkst Canary is brilliant. It is a honeypot. That is, it is a device, just a little black box. I've got one over there. I don't want to unplug it because it's part of my defense in depth. It sits on your network. It looks like an external hard drive. It's very inconspicuous, but it can impersonate anything from a Windows server, a SharePoint server, an Exchange server, a Linux box with every possible service turned on or just a few select services. It could be an SSH server. It could be a SCADA device. It can be, there are literally hundreds of profiles, and they're very well done. I mean, they look exactly the same down to the MAC address. So a bad guy looks at them. He might even be a little suspicious if he's intruded into your network, and he says, boy, that's SCADA device. I'd like to. It cannot resist. And in every respect, it looks real. It could be a Synology NAS. It's got the exact login. It's got the MAC address, a Synology MAC address, everything. The other thing you could do with the Thinkst Canary, besides the hardware devices, each Thinkst Canary can make an unlimited number of what they call Canary tokens, files that you can spread everywhere, including the cloud. You could put them on your OneDrive that look like real things. A PowerPoint presentation. How about an Excel spreadsheet named payroll information .xlsx? That's a good one. A bad guy who has intruded into your system, somehow has broken in, could not resist opening that, right? Except it's not really your payroll information. And the minute he opens it, it sends a signal and you will get an alert. Thinkst Canaries are honeypots. They can be deployed in minutes. Their token files can be created everywhere. And here's the key. If somebody has broken into your network, I mean, how do you know, right? They're very good. And on average, companies don't know for 3 months, 91 days, that somebody is in the network because they're just tiptoeing around, looking at everything, exfiltrating information. And then, when everything's ready, they set off the time bomb. But they can't do that if you've got a Thinkst Canary. If someone's accessing your lore files, those lore files are even on cloud drives, which is really great. Or maybe they're, brute forcing your fake internal SSH server. Your Thinkst Canary will immediately tell you you have a problem. No false alerts, just the alerts that matter and the way you want them. Email, SMS. It supports webhooks, syslog, of course, it's API even if you want to write your own. I mean, infinite number of ways. You can have your AI. Actually, I think I might do this. Turn all your lights red and blink, saying, intruder alert, intruder alert. So you choose a profile for your Thinkst Canary device, you register it with a hosted console for monitoring and notifications, then you just sit back, you relax, you wait. Attackers who've breached your network or malicious insiders, really any adversary in your network, cannot help but make themselves known by accessing your Thinkst Canary. And when they do, you got them. Now, one's not enough. You should at least have one for every network segment. If you're a big bank, a casino, backroom operation, you might have hundreds of Thinkst Canaries. Small business like ours, just a handful, but I'll give you an example. Go to canary.tools/twit. For $7,500 a year, you get 5 Thinks Canaries. So that's enough for the whole, everywhere. Spread them all around. You get your own hosted console. You get upgrades. You get support. You get maintenance. Oh, and if you use the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, you'll get 10% off the price. And not just for the first year, but for as long as you own your Thinks Canaries. Forever. They have a very generous return policy. You can always return your Thinks Canary with their 60-day, 2-month money-back guarantee and get a full refund. I should tell you, they've been advertising with us for more than a decade now. And during all those years, that Thinks Canary refund guarantee has never been claimed. Not once. Nobody ever has wanted their money back. Because once you get a Thinks Canary, you say, how did I live without them? Visit canary.tools/twit. Enter the code TWIT in the How'd You Hear About Us box. This is a device everybody should have. And I'm very glad I have one on my network. Because these days, defense in depth is the way to go. Canary.tools/twit. We thank him so much for supporting Windows Weekly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and maybe, Chris, you don't know this, but this is the most valuable segment on the show, the Xbox segment.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. I just making it up. Paul, take it away.
Yeah, so Halo Campaign Evolved came out yesterday as we record this for everybody. It was available in early access last week if you paid for the premium edition. My only concern about this game at all is just the price. The premium edition of this game is $70. Like, are you kidding me? It is on Game Pass, however. So if you have Game Pass, you could just play it. That's great. But not the premium version, the standard edition or whatever. You can, and I know this because I did it. If you have Game Pass, pay $20 for the premium edition upgrade and get whatever's in that. I did that only because I wanted to get the game early. We got a code for review, but Laurent reviewed the game, so he had the code. So I paid for it. And I got to say, we're going to talk about this a little bit more later in the show, in the back of the book. It's great. I suspect, based on there's some stuff in the game that suggests this, they're going to redo this for Halo 2 and 3 as well, I think. The big thing here is the switch to the Unreal Engine, which is just gorgeous. Like, it looks awesome. I've been playing it on PC, but it's on Xbox Series X and S. It's on PlayStation 5, which everyone's super happy about. But it's a reminder of how good this game was and how far it's fallen in the years since, unfortunately. But it's a great game. So anyway, it's out now. So if you're on Game Pass, that's a great way to play that. So as of yesterday, and there's some additional content in there. There's some changes, there's some different stuff, but I'll talk about that a little bit later.
So this is the game you already played, but it's just looking better.
Yeah, and there are some differences. There's some prequel levels you can go into, but yeah, it's and because it's Unreal,
I have to say,
yeah, it's a modern engine, so there's a lot of fog type effects, especially. I would say it's incredibly diverse, which is weird because my big complaint about Halo, and this was especially the first game, but no, Halo 4 was like this. I think they all were like this to some degree. Is you go into some environment, so it could be someplace on the ring, it could be inside of a ship. It doesn't really matter, and then you go back through it you go out the same way, so you have to re-experience it, and sometimes it changes. Right? There's some stuff with the flood where you go through a normal area, and now it's all flood. It's all gross but it's the same layout, and it's like they're reusing, I'm sure 25 years ago when they were making this game, it was like, well, we're dealing with, we don't have a lot of disk space or whatever. But on the flip side, I kind of forgot how diverse the environments are. There are gorgeous alien landscapes and things that look like, forests on Earth or whatever. And snowy areas, which I completely forgot about. There's a lot there. The quality kind of goes downhill over time, but the first 3 games are fantastic. At least ODST I remember being really good too. But this is the best one. There's no doubt about it. Single player anyway. And this is only single player. There was some kind of I think it was a split screen at the time when they did it. Halo 2 was the first one. That one took advantage of, I think that one actually, if I'm getting my time frames wrong, I probably am. I think it was Halo 1 that actually influenced Xbox Live, but they incorporate these ideas back and forth. So by the time Halo 2 came out, that was big for multiplayer. It was a big deal because you could play online. It was excellent. Halo 3, same. But this remastering is just the single player campaign, which is, solid. It's great. It's a great game. Of course, the day it came out, Xbox was down most of the day. I'm sure this is a coincidence. I will say that day, literally, I got home. We were out, whatever we were doing out in the world. And I got home and I'm like, I have an hour, maybe more I could kill. I will catch up on this game a little bit. Yeah, that didn't happen. So it was down. Microsoft is blaming basically human error. That's not the way they phrased it, but basically human error. An irony, because we live in this age of we're getting rid of physical discs, right? Sony made that announcement a couple weeks ago. Microsoft is allegedly trying to determine whether or not it makes sense to have a disc player a disc drive in the next Xbox console. I don't actually think it makes any sense personally, but whatever. If you had a game on a disc and had to get online with that for some reason, you were fine. And I guess Microsoft is also going to work off of that to kind of, you wouldn't get online. You would just play this game offline. Like, in other words, this is a single player campaign, so you don't really have to be online, except that you do if it's a digital game. So they're going to work to make sure that's the case, I guess, in more instances. But I think that actually did work out how would that have worked out for people on Halo? There must be a physical version, but anyway, yesterday was a disaster. But we're used to that. That's kind of par for the course, I guess, in the Microsoft world for this kind of thing, unfortunately. And then in the Insider program for Xbox, not the Windows one, but the Xbox Insider program, they're testing an ad-based version of cloud gaming, which is the game streaming service, which originated as a perk of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, but now there's some level of it in most of the tiers they have. So you do gain access to game streaming to some degree. But I think this is going to be a standalone cloud gaming tier, which we've always kind of wondered about. I don't know if they'll be paid in ad-supported versions or just the ad-supported version. It makes sense to me they would do this. I mean, it works for Netflix, etc. The one thing I will say is that game streaming has actually gotten a lot better over the years. It was really janky in the beginning. If you want to play a game like Call of Duty online, that's not going to work, right? But single player things like Doom, the recent Doom games, I'm sure I have not done it, but I suspect this Halo game, etc., actually work. You might be surprised like how well this works now. It's pretty good. So they've kind of gotten it to a good place. So having a standalone version of that actually does make sense to me. Ad supported. Hopefully there'll be just a straight up paid version too. And if you have a Snapdragon X2 computer, right, and there are games you cannot play on that thing, this is a good way to get around that as well. And then in other good news, obviously Ubisoft, the guys that make like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, etc., a partner with Xbox like they do with all the big platform makers. But Microsoft has this kind of, it's like an Xbox Play Everywhere capability, which is about retaining your, achievements and where you are at game progress, etc. But a lot of game makers like Activision does this and has done this. I'm not sure if they still do it, but there were at least a few years there where you could buy the game for Xbox. You could buy a game in a cross-platform console version, which would work on either Xbox or PlayStation, right? Which is $10 more or something. Microsoft's games tend to work across Xbox and PC, right? You just buy it once and it works in both places. Ubisoft announced they're just going to do that. And so if you buy some of its games, and these are going to be recent games and then games going forward, if you buy it on the Xbox, it will just work on the PC, which is awesome, right? So Assassin's Creed Mirage, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is in there, Far Cry 6, The Crew 2, The Crew Motorfest, a couple of Tom Clancy games, etc. So, but from July 21, which was last week onward, you buy a digital version of one of these games and it will work in either place, which is great because this is actually a lot of the way I play games because I am playing on Xbox through the PC, but it would work on, I don't really play on console anymore, but it would work. Most of those games would work either way. So that's cool. And then I don't know what to think of this one. So, when Google Stadia disappeared, it left Amazon Luna as the only kind of cloud streaming service where they have a controller that is a discrete device on the network. It's not connecting through whatever Bluetooth maybe to your PC, which is the thing connected to the network. So it kind of gave you better latency, which is really important for game streaming, right? And I don't know that this service has been doing too well, but it's Amazon. So unlike Google, they don't just kill it, in 2 seconds. They've been kind of keeping it along, but I feel like they've been dropping, they've dropped any pretense of even trying to get unique content that will only be on Luna, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, which you probably would, right? If you're even looking at Luna, they're going to have games stream through Prime Video, which is sort of like what Netflix does on mobile, where they have games now as well as movies and TV shows. So I guess we're going to keep throwing this spaghetti at the wall until something sticks. But I don't know. I have a bad feeling Luna's not going to be here for the long run, but it has certainly outlived Stadia. So who can say?
Game streaming is weird. Even going back a few years, we had a GPU shortage, and at the time we had cloud gaming, and those services didn't take off then. And I don't know if they're taking off now either. Even we have RAM shortage, we have prices going up. It seems like my experience covering sometimes game streaming is that there's not a lot of interest. I don't know how much people are really using it. I don't know. Are we seeing that changing? That's, I think, probably one reason Google killed Stadia. That not really anyone was using it.
Yeah, I think they, early on they too they were like, all right, we're going to have exclusive content. No, we're not. They kind of went through that whole thing. I mean, there's more competition for data center GPUs now than there's ever been, which is obviously a huge problem. But for casual games, this kind of thing actually does work pretty well. So again, a modern AAA shooter, especially if it's multiplayer, no way, but single player, maybe. I don't know. It depends. But I don't know. I mean, I there might be some crossover in the Amazon space with that market. People who might play more casual games. I mean, they have a problem because they don't have really a phone presence, right? So I guess you might have Amazon Prime on your phone, but I don't think it's your go-to for anything. I don't know. But I do feel like game streaming can work in that kind of casual sense where, I see people in Mexico, they're always on their phones playing like some Jewel game where it's like, looks like Tetris kind of, but it's Jewels. And like people do this in their off time, whatever, standing in line at the supermarket, whatever it might be. Like there's possibly a use case here.
Yeah.
But
GeForce Now actually works pretty well in a lot of situations. Yeah. But the idea that there are a lot of casual gamers that are like, I really want to play the new Doom, but I don't have the computer. That's not that I don't know.
Yeah. The only computer I can't play the new Doom on is one of the Snapdragon computers, right? For some reason. The previous two Doom games actually do play on that computer. So you could stream that, right? I assume I haven't tried that, but I assume you could stream it on whatever, and that should work okay.
Well, mind you, the way RAM is going, maybe that'll be what pushes it.
Well, GeForce Now, obviously, we can assume it's subsidized in some way by NVIDIA. Amazon is obviously in some way subsidizing this whole thing. Microsoft, to some degree, tried to stop doing that, raise prices, didn't go so well, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, you have to allot the reason the prices, well, there are many reasons, but one of them surely would be we can't it doesn't make sense to dedicate GPUs to this when we can get so much more money from a company like OpenAI to pay for those GPUs to do what they're doing. And I don't feel like this problem gets solved in the short term. So I don't know, but it has gotten better. I don't do it a lot, but when I go in every couple of months and look, I'm like, actually, this is pretty good. It's surprisingly okay. There was a period of time there where it was not at all okay.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gotten better. Whatever that means.
Is latency still the bugaboo?
Yeah, it's latency. Yeah. Yep. But that's the thing. Like Luna is, there have been rumors that Microsoft's working on an Xbox wireless controller that will do what Luna and what Stadia used to do, which is it's the thing that connects directly. Well, it's one of the things that connects directly to the network. That actually does help reduce latency because you're not going through another device to translate all the button presses and stuff. But I mean, obviously, in the meantime, you want to use a wired controller, right? Not Bluetooth. Bluetooth is garbage, but you're still, latency is always going to be an issue. Yeah.
I think this is the problem: is that a serious gamer is never going to settle for this.
Nope. Right. No, and that's why
that's where the money is.
Yep.
Well,
right? No, he's playing
the biggest.
Halo as a casual gamer.
Yes, I mean, the biggest part of the gaming market is casual gaming on mobile, right? I mean,
on mobile.
Well, I mean, you could do Luna. It's in the Prime Video is a way to get Luna on your phone.
Yeah, but
right.
That's really.
I'm not. Look again. I played part of Red Dead Redemption through Netflix on an iPad just to see what it was like. And
how was that?
Just to do it. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Actually, I think you could install it. By the way, I don't think I streamed it, but
that game is also more.
It's a good game.
It's more story. It's not.
Yeah, but that's everything you would. I mean, a story like a single player experience is always going to be better on streaming. Right. Always.
Oh, it's the only way to go.
I don't think you could. I mean, you're just asking. You're just punching yourself in the face. I'd like to go in and never kill anyone and lose the game. Yeah, you should stream it. Is the solution to that problem
instantly?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. The back of the book coming up once again in about 45 minutes. It's Intelligent Machines. We will talk about all the AI stories, and there are lots. Our guest, Henry Blodgett, is really an interesting guest because he bears the scars from the dot-com bubble. He was right there. And now he's on the forefront of the AI bubble.
He's never learned.
Yeah. He double scarred. Henry Blodgett will be our guest in about, it's now 40 minutes. And while we're doing this break, maybe Paul would be a good time to check and see if there is anything.
Sorry, I have an important Samsung promotion in my text messages.
Very important. Don't miss that.
I literally put my phone in do not disturb mode, and it somehow made its way to the lock screen. Like
absolutely.
Microsoft Investor.
While we're doing that, let me tell everybody about the fabulous Club Twit. Gosh, I think everybody should join Club Twit. I really do. I admit I have a little bit of vested interest because it's a third of our revenue now. It's not revenue; it's pays a third of our expenses. And I really believe in. I do it myself, supporting independent journalism that talks about tech without fear or favor. It's not owned by a big company. It is, and if you like that kind of journalism, do things like support Paul at Thurrott.com and support Twit. Here's what you get. We like to give you some value for money. You get ad-free versions of all the show. It's $10 a month. You get access to the Club Twit Discord, a great hang, a really great social network. I go in there all the time, even when I'm not on the show. So do many, many other Club Twit members. You get special programming that's just in the club that we don't do anywhere else. That's kind of cool because your support makes it possible for us to do, for instance, Friday, Jeff Atwood's Off by One, which is going to be a lot of fun. Jeff Atwood, the creator of Stack Exchange. He also founded Discourse, the forum software we use. He's all about community. He's all about coding. And he's a wild man. That's this Friday. We have the photo show. We have the AI user group. We have Micah's Crafting Corner. Micah also does a media kind of club like our Stacy Book Club. All of this coming up. And as a club member, you get access to those. You can subscribe to the feed after the fact so you can watch it at your leisure. Other benefits. There's a 2-week free trial waiting for you if you want to see what it's like at twit.tv/clubtwit. But the most important reason is the warm and fuzzy feeling you get knowing you're supporting the programming I presume you love. And if you don't, well, don't support it on Twit. We would just love to have you in the club. Thank you. Twit.tv/clubtwit. It's now time for what we call the back of the book.
Actually, before we do that, I'm sorry.
Oh, we might have earnings learnings
have occurred. So this is going to be like fog of war stuff, but 35.8 billion in net income, up 31% year over year. 90 billion.
Wait a minute, income up 31%.
That's profit. So that one's variable. I wouldn't put too much into that one, but 18% gain on revenues. Intelligent Cloud has not been their biggest business for the past 3 to 5 quarters that I remember, but it is again this quarter, 39.3 billion, up 32% in revenues. Productivity and business processes, Microsoft 365 roughly is 37.8 billion, up 14%. And they kind of warned on this one, more personal computing, which is Windows, Surface, Xbox, some others to search, whatever. 12.9 billion, down 4% year over year. So, I mean, we kind of knew that was going to be a bad one.
Look at this story. At the close of market, in anticipation of these results, they were down almost $3. Now, having seen the results, the market in after hours trading, they're up $10. Up. Yeah.
Well,
2.5%.
The post-earnings conference call occur, and we'll get more details on like CapEx.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, maybe we're waiting for that. But
we'll see what happens.
This is the old opposite of the old buy on the rumor, sell on the news. They sold on the rumor and they bought on the news.
It's going to be in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. So Microsoft, that's really hard. Yeah, Jesus, I'm sorry. Microsoft CapEx spending is up 70% year over year to $41 billion in the quarter.
This is what bit Google, right?
Yep. This is exactly what bit Google, and in fact, those figures are roughly identical, I believe, off the top of my head. Now they do have a positive cash flow, unlike Google, so that's good. But their free cash flow is down 23% year over year, reflecting higher capex spending, right? As Microsoft invest. But they're a net positive 19.6 billion on cash flow. So they're not as bad as Google, I guess, if that makes sense. We'll talk about this more next week. It's kind of hard to look at this quickly and make sense.
We always do our earnings show the following week, but it's the top line numbers are interesting. Yeah.
I'll have to have a write up tomorrow about it, but plus I have to listen to the call. I have to, they'll say more.
Right. And during
the call.
As always the case, the Discord club members are saying the whole stock market was down at the close. So that's why.
How's the Chinese stock market doing right now? Is that something I could invest in? I feel like that's going to be
down 2%. The NASDAQ down 1.75. The S&P down 1.5. So it was.
Yeah, I mean, all the big tech companies are plus or minus a week to 10 days doing their earnings right now. So their cash paid for property and equipment was $36 billion, up 110% year over year. Yikes!
That's buying all those data servers there.
Yep. Yeah, they're just like lease owners now. That's fun. Remember when Microsoft used to make software? We used to talk about them like they were a software maker. It was fun. I like those days. Oh well. Okay, Chris, I'm sorry. I kind of took the air out of this a little bit by mentioning it earlier, but we do have a tip that is.
That's fine.
What's your? Oh, we're going to let Chris do the tip.
Yeah, I have a little.
Aren't you fancy?
I've been talking about it, but
aren't you fancy? What's your tip of the week, Mr. Hoffman?
It's really funny, like seeing the Copilot key news and they'll let you make it do nothing. It's like, you can already do that. It's Windows. It's powerful. Like you don't have to sit there and wait for Microsoft to add an option a year from now. Like my favorite way to remap keys these days is with Keyboard Manager PowerToy. It's even made by Microsoft. It's not installed by default, but you can remap it and you can make it do nothing. You can make it do anything else. And I think more people should really take advantage of that. I feel like the Keyboard Manager has probably seen a lot of usage in the past year or two due to the Copilot key. So I would really recommend it. And if you cannot run the Keyboard Manager because you have a managed company laptop, well, hopefully Microsoft will add that option.
Right. Yes. And just because I've been talking about this, so I think I mentioned this before the show, just to maybe the three of us or whatever, but past couple of months I've been working on rewriting the entire Windows 11 field guide, which started out as a almost 1200 page book. PDF form was like 300 megabytes. It's humongous. So I've rewritten everything now as of today. I haven't published the final one. The final chapter I didn't do was phone link, but it is now instead of 300 megabytes, 44 megabytes, and instead of 1200 pages, 745. So I literally I'm sure I cut and paste a couple of paragraphs here and there, but I mean, it's my work. It's okay. But like I rewrote it to be more concise and reshot every single screenshot to be smaller file size, but also take up less vertical space, because screenshots, when they're square, take up like half of a page or 3/4 of a page. So super excited about this. And hopefully this will be more maintainable going forward. So if you own it or if you're part of Throughout Premium, this update will be out after the show and after I write about earnings, because now I have that to do. But that's okay.
1,200 pages down to 745. Not because you cut one word.
Well, many
because
words.
you cut many words.
One of my favorite memories was I had written the Windows, at the time it was called Windows 7 Secrets, right? Which is this unbelievably thick, I think it was 1,100 pages.
I owned it. Yeah. Great book.
Yeah. It's a good monitor stand, by the way. And I went to the Netherlands for the Windows, I guess it was the Windows 7 launch. It would be right at, and I spoke at that launch there, but I did like a book signing thing, and the Dutch people are so direct, which I love. And this guy said, "Let me ask you a question. If Windows 7 is so easy to use, why did you have to write an 1,100-page book to explain it?" And I said, "I padded it with screenshots," which is not true, but what are you going to do? Anyway, I've been working to be more concise, I guess. So this is Windows 7 came out in 2009. So I'm on a 17-year journey here or something. Oh no, it's worse than that. Gee, what, is it worse than that? No, 9. Oh no, 17 years, I think. Math. I'm a writer, not a mathematician. Anyway, the app pick this week, we already talked about it at length, so I don't have to go into too much detail, is Halo Campaign Involved. It is excellent. And we play the music when we do the Xbox segment here, but in reverse. For so they don't take it down the show, I guess. But when the one thing that no, not the one thing. One of the many things this game does really effectively is, as you kind of progress through it, there's this mounting kind of musical. It is that they do an awesome job of that. And so the kind of whatever level it might be, you're getting to the conclusion. It's probably the end of it is you jumping onto some warthog thing that takes off and whatever it is, and you escape. But the music builds as you do it, and it's just really well done. It's just a great game.
Nice.
So it's worth it.
Lovely. We should let Chris plug his new newsletter. I think this is a big
Since
good
I just
time
plugged
to
my
do
book
that.
for the 125th time. Yeah, sure.
Yes, it's only fair. I would show it, but you actually have to go to PC Mag and sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So since last time
Which
I was
I
on
did
here,
instantly, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
Much appreciated. And since last time I'm on here, I'm now full-time at PC Mag. I'm happy to be part of their team. I am basically the resident Windows whisperer, among other things. So I was at Microsoft Build. I write a lot about Windows there. I have what I think are intelligent takes and thoughts. And I actually just recently took over their Windows newsletter. So anyone who's subscribed to the existing newsletter sees a piece from me every single week directly to your inbox. And as you may know, I've written a lot of newsletters in the past few years. So this is now my current newsletter. But that's where to find me, PC Mag. And honestly, I will just plug PC Mag as well for a second. It's a great team. It's a great group of people. I think online journalism and tech journalism is in not a great place, but I would say that PC Mag is still a really good place, and I hope you check it out.
I'm so glad PC Mag's still around, because this is a legendary magazine. I hung out with the editors, and of course John C. Dvorak's Inside Track was in the back of it for years, and this is a legendary publication. It's kind of cool that you're part of such a great history. Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah.
PCMag.com.
So check it out. Subscribe to my newsletter.
Nice. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate talking to you. Chris, of course, Chris Hoffman, senior writer at software at PC Magazine. His newsletter available now. Paul Thurrott, we've already plugged his stuff interminably. Thurrott.com, THURRO, good.com is the place to go become a premium member. You get a copy of all of his lovely books, The Field Guide to Windows 11, Windows Everywhere, which is a great history of Windows. I love Paul's history angle, and of course, de-enshittify Windows, which becomes more and more valuable every day. We do Windows Weekly right here, if Leo shows up on time, at 11 a.m. Pacific.
You were probably busy installing a Windows update. It's okay. You don't have to explain yourself.
I updated my router. I thought that'd fix it, and it did not, because I'm still, I don't know, I am racking my brain. I don't know what's going on, because everything seems fine.
Right. You're in wires, though, right? Like, you're not on
I'm absolutely wired. I have a Ubiquity router connected to Comcast Business.
That actually makes it harder, because there's less you can do there. You know,
I've rebooted. I rebooted the machine. I rebooted the router. I rebooted the modem. I went outside and I kicked the box that Comcast comes in on. We switched over to Starlink. I thought, because that's our backup. That didn't fix it. So I don't know what it is. It's probably not the internet.
Yeah, we got.
I don't know what else it could
Kevin
be.
said something like, "If something goes south with this day, we'll send you guys a Zoom link." And I'm like, "Why are we starting this with this is going to fail?" And I guess it's because
Zoom was worse.
Yeah.
Zoom was worse yesterday. So I apologize.
Did OpenAI attack your network, or do you think?
I do have at least 3 agents running full time constantly.
Right.
Could be.
Well, why don't you ask one of them? What are you doing?
I'm looking at my bandwidth. Everything's fine.
Right.
If I, in the Unify, if I click on it, it says my connection is excellent. Latency is 15 milliseconds. I don't know what's wrong.
Well,
Peak utilization exceeded limit. I don't know what that means.
What? Oh. What did you say? What exceeded limit?
My peak utilization.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. But anyway, I'm getting just fine. Plenty of megabits up. I just don't. Anyway, so I apologize for my lousy video. That's all I can say. We do Windows Weekly, though. Like I said, I had to reboot my router, and that took unexpectedly long time. Normally we'd start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. That is 1800 UTC. And you can watch us do it live. Now, of course, club members can watch in the Club Twit Discord. Discord's not great for live video, so a lot of them still watch on the other 6 different places you can watch. YouTube, twitch.tv, x.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kick. Any of those will work. If you're chatting in there, I will see the chat. I have a unified chat right in front of me. So we appreciate all of you in there. It's nice to have you all. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/WW. That's our website. There's also a YouTube channel with the video. And we put it up there pretty much right away. Best thing to do, though, subscribe in your favorite podcast client. You'll get it automatically because it's a podcast. It's funny because the advertising industry is pushing us right now because they want everybody. They don't really like RSS feeds because we don't know anything about you because of the RSS feeds. They want everybody to listen in an app, right? Spotify or whatever, Audible, whatever app. Because if you listen to an app, they know who you are. They know how long you listened. They know which ads you heard, which ones you didn't. And ad people are, the more you would give them, the more they want. They want all the demographics. So I have to say, it's hurting us. It's harder and harder to sell. And I think next year's going to be worse because there's this big move to getting to say, well, downloads don't count. You know why downloads don't count? Because they don't know anything about you. Downloads count.
Once it's offline, nobody knows.
Exactly. They want you to listen in an app streaming. And we believe in RSS feeds. So we may be a little bit out of luck. Anyway, I don't know why I got started on that. Oh, I know why. Subscribe to the RSS feed in your favorite podcast client and don't give them any of your information. You can if you want. Listen on Spotify.
And then also now announcing the new native Twit app, which,
We did, we actually, I don't know, did I ever tell you this story? We went out and spent $75,000 on a native Twit app, and it was so bad I never released it. It was just crap.
Yeah, I had a native app at Windows IT Pro like a million years ago.
I could probably vibe code it.
I was on Windows Phone and iPhone, I think, at the time.
Yeah, I could. I mean, honestly, probably could vibe code it. Certainly could do a better job. Anyway, thank you, Paul Thurrott, and a special thanks to Chris Hoffman filling in. Next week, we go to Las Vegas because Paul is jonesing for the craps table. Yes. You gamble?
No.
It's so funny. Vegas hates it during CES and the other geek conventions.
Yeah, because everyone's like, well, not everyone. I had an early Microsoft experience where I was a bunch of young guys at Microsoft, and the theory was if you had infinite money, you could just keep betting on roulette,
you double
and
you double. Yeah,
they did not have infinite money, and they lost big. And I saw them. I'm not going to remember the number at the time, but it came up. Let's say red. I literally think 28 times in a row, and the whole crowd had gathered. People, lots of employees, security, whatever, and it was the Microsoft guys, and they bet red again. They lost everything. Yeah, it's a metaphor for Microsoft.
It's a little bit of justice there. Yeah. Well, I know from experience at Comdex, and then now at CES, they cover half the tables with tarps because they know.
Yes.
Geeks know probability. Who knew?
Mm-hmm. I mean, some people are into it, but
but it's a smaller number. Anyway, we're going to Black Hat. Another reason to cover the craps table.
Speaking of gambling, we're going to be in a hotel with a bunch of black hat hackers. So yeah, do I gamble? Actually, as it turns out, I guess I do. I'm going to this place.
Gamble. We will be Wednesday. We'll be doing the show. As soon as the show floor opens, come on over to the Threat Locker booth. That's where we'll be doing the show. But I do have to tell you, there's no PA, there's no seating. It's not a presentation. They just let us use their booth to do the show. But Paul and Richard will be there. Following immediately after, Steve Gibson's going to do security. Now we're moving that to Wednesday just for this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cool. And we would love to see you. And we'll be signing autographs. Actually, nobody wants autographs anymore. They want, what they want? They want selfies. Paul, let's do a selfie, Paul. Let's do a selfie. That's what they want. So we will pose for selfies.
I'm not good at selfies.
You're not?
Oh my God, come on. I can barely handle a webcam. I'm like trying to figure out which.
We will be posing for selfies, right? All of us but Paul. Come by if you're going to be at Black Hat this year. And Windows Weekly will be a regular podcast, just like usual. We'll stream it. We'll put it out. But one thing we don't know is how good the internet will be. We have an Ethernet cable.
Right. Are you going to try
connected to on the other end? I don't know.
You can do your own record. Like Richard could record it. I bet Richard's.
Yeah, we'll record locally. We have the means, but it's just, I'm saying for people who watch live normally.
Right.
Could be like this, could be good, could be bad. I don't know. We'll do our best. But we will see you next week on Windows Weekly. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great week. Bye-bye.